Monty Show, the truth in sports talk streaming. When you want unbiased opinions about your favorite team without the spin, all you have to do is find the Monty Show, streaming live and available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on YouTube. And now, here's Monty.
Hey, yo, man, how the heck are you? The Monty Show, as always, presented by The Advocates, theadvocates.com, the best injury attorneys in the business, The Advocates. And I tell you, I say it every day on this show, you guys, you don't have to worry about reaching into your pocket. Can I afford an attorney? Of course you can, because you never pay the advocates out of pocket. In fact, you don't pay the advocates unless and until they win your case. Chat with an attorney live online for free at theadvocates.com. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. It has been a furious 45 minutes behind the scenes. And I'll be honest with you, I'll just start the show with some unbelievable ridiculousness. Like CBS Sports Dennis Dodd, who I think is one of the best reporters in the business. I think Dennis Dodd has been a wonderful journalist throughout his career. And it's not like Dennis Dodd is, let me steal the phrase from somebody who just called me and said, "What do you want? You're an idiot on YouTube." Right? Like at a university, which we're going to talk about, but I'm not going to name. So Dennis Dodd writes a piece today, and frankly, it is a bombshell. It is shocking. Dennis Dodd has a story today that says San Diego State led a coup against the Mountain West Conference. San Diego State fails in an attempt to create a new Power 5 conference with Pac-12, Mountain West, and AAC members. And in this story, he goes on to detail how San Diego State President Adela De La Torre was leading a push to assemble what would have amounted to a breakaway of the best teams from the Mountain West, the American, and the Pac-12 leftovers of Cal, Stanford, Oregon, and Washington State. That's what sources told Dennis Dodd. I have no reason to believe that Dennis Dodd lied about this, made this up. No reason to believe that at all. But apparently J.D. Wicker, the much esteemed and well talked about athletic director on this show, says this is fake news. Doesn't dare come out and say it's not true, that it's a lie, that it never happened. doesn't dare come out and say that. We, by the way, sent a request to San Diego State today to have J.D. Wicker on the show, and they said, just flatly said, no, he's not going to come on. We're going to pass. He's not coming on the show. Because, again, when you call somebody a liar, which is what I'm assuming J.D. Wicker's doing on Twitter today with Dennis Dodd, when you call somebody of Dennis Dodd's accomplishments, somebody of his professionalism, when you call them a liar and you refer to them as fake news, you don't dare go on, shows and answer questions about it. Like, hey, are you saying with fake news? Because, of course, we use the fake news now as a term that doesn't necessarily mean it didn't happen. No, that's just a term we throw out there to deflect from what the truth is. And so when I get a call from somebody at a school we might be talking about, but we don't want to, divulge, and they chew us out and tell us that, hey, you don't know what happened. And then when you say, well, hey, is it a lie? They move on to, well, it's just wrong what you're tweeting right now. But is it a lie? Right? It's ridiculous to me that San Diego State continues to repeatedly damage their brand. And I don't even know how you go about working through this. Because if you believe Dennis Dodd's story, and I do, he works at CBS. Dennis has covered this game for as long as I've been around. Dennis Dodd claims that Adela De La Torre, the president at San Diego State, tried to take the biggest members of the Mountain West, the remaining 4 in the Pac-12 and several from the American, and start a conference that could keep the P5 designation from the Pac-12. Now, sources told us almost immediately, it was comical, Dennis Dodd published this story, and sources tell us that was dead on arrival. It never got off the ground, that there was no support for the plan in the Mountain West, and that it really was not anything that was even close to getting talked about, planned, going to happen. But it's miraculous to me that San Diego State keeps doing this. And the question I have is, how long is the Mountain West going to put up with this? Mm-hmm. How long is the Mountain West going to allow San Diego State to be in a position to damage this conference? I don't know, if you are the Mountain West, how you can allow this to happen. Because now I think you have to look at San Diego State, and I don't know, Jake, if I'm wrong about this, but I think you have to look at San Diego State is somebody inside your own house trying to do damage.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know where San Diego State gets off thinking that this is acceptable behavior. I don't know where you get off thinking that you're somehow a power brand. And I love all the guys on Twitter, all the people that call us, all the San Diego homers who want to say, hey, yeah, we're a P5 team waiting to happen, and we're this great brand, and you want to send us GIFs and memes and graphics about how San Diego State's one of the most dominant college football teams on win percentage over the last decade, even though they haven't done anything that anyone cares about. Why do you think they have a high winning percentage? Yeah, because they play in the Mountain West, right? Put them in the SEC and let's see what it really is. Put them in what was the Pac-12 and let's see what it really is, right? So San Diego State fan has an issue with little brother syndrome. And I would say J.D. Wicker has an issue with little brother syndrome because you don't want to talk about the reality of the situation, which is you don't deserve a pro rata, right? There's all this confusion about, pro rata and what that means. And there are some people who have said, hey, it's just a catchphrase. It's just a term that is used in the media. No, it's a contractual term that quite literally translates to equal share, right? It doesn't translate to full share in a P5. It translates to an equal share based on your value. That's what a pro rata is. So, for me, I just get burned out on the guy who's like, yeah, San Diego State's amazing. They're incredible. Is San Diego State a value proposition to certain P5s? Sure, there's a conversation there. There's not a conversation at 31.7. There's not a conversation at, 40 million in the SEC or 100 in the Big Ten or whatever it is. There's not a conversation there because you haven't earned that yet. You're not playing a P5 schedule. You're not playing the best of the best. So when you sent a letter announcing you were leaving the Mountain West, you thought that meant that you were getting out of your grant of rights, and you thought that meant that you could just go to the Pac-12, which is not the case.
Clearly,
so
not the case.
Any way you slice the pie here, again, and I have no problem saying it because San Diego State continues to run from accountability over and over and over again. J.D. Wicker and Adela De La Torre have brought shame to their school, and there's no other way around that.
And the incidents, and I want to lay this out correctly because obviously there's a ton of San Diego State fans who listen to this show. I know we have a big following in the Mountain West Conference. I want to make sure that we're all on the same page here. San Diego State's issues, as I see them, whatever this was with the Pac-12, the letter that San Diego State wrote, clearly withdrawing from the Pac-12, the plant that J.D. Wicker gave a quote to Seth Davis at The Athletic that was planted in The Athletic, where J.D. Wicker said, we are leaving the Mountain West. I don't know if we're going to the Big 12 or San Diego or the Pac-12, but San Diego State's going to be somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, here we are 2 months later, and they're still in the Mountain West. They went through the whole stunt of sending a withdrawal letter to the Mountain West that they claim then was never a withdrawal letter from the Mountain West, even though it was exactly the terms that are laid out in the Mountain West Charter for withdrawing from the conference. And then Adela De La Torre said, hey, we're confident that we'll get the pro rata we deserve from the Pac-12.
Bro, what are you talking about, man?
And now Dennis Dodd at CBS writes a story that says San Diego State tried to lead a revolt out of the Mountain West with the biggest brands, and J.D. Wicker's answer is fake news, disappointed in the number of absolute fake articles that get written these days. And yet San Diego State will refuse to elaborate on what this statement is. I have directly asked Jamie and Sports Information at San Diego State, what are you saying? What is J.D. Wicker saying? Did the events in this Dennis Dodd article not happen? Did Adela De La Torre not lead, a push to assemble what it would have amounted to a breakaway of the best schools in the Mountain West? The American and the remaining four in the Pac-12? Did Adela De La Torre not try to put that together? Is that what you're saying when you say and you make serious accusations? And if I'm Dennis Dodd, I'm already calling an attorney on this, where you said Dennis Dodd wrote a fake article and it's fake news. Because I have a hard time believing that Dennis Dodd is writing a story that's 100% fabricated and he made it up and it's fake. But will J.D. Wicker be held to account on that?
No.
Will San Diego State in any way, shape, or form, say, well, here's what J.D. Wicker meant? No, Adela De La Torre was never involved in that. Because that's what we've asked. They were happy to say, no, we're not going to come on your show in 2 minutes. They were happy to blow up our phones and, be all upset about Twitter. But now when you ask for a line-by-line explanation of, hey, did you or did you not? And I don't even mind screen sharing to you what I sent to the gentleman, because I think it's really important that you guys understand, and especially for the San Diego State contingent that watches this show, because I know that we have many of them. I want you to understand that we're not just playing games on this show. We're not. And this is the email screenshot that I sent to Jamie at San Diego State. Can you clarify what J.D. Wicker is saying here? Is J.D. saying that Dennis Dodd is reporting something that didn't happen? Are the facts in this story incorrect? What in this article is fake? And they have not responded to that email. And it just is another complete, just terrible behavior from San Diego State. It's just one of these things, and I don't understand. This is all self-inflicted. You never had to do this. If you were going to get into the Pac-12, which is really where all this started, did you really need to say the pro rata we deserve? How did that help you with anybody?
And by the way, why doesn't any other team say that? Why doesn't any other university talk about pro ratas?
Because the Pac-12 has never had a pro rata.
Oh, that's right. You don't know what a pro rata is. Idiots.
It is.
Like, it's idiotic. It's irresponsible.
It is
to
foolish.
Run this stuff out here.
It is foolish. And again, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page here, because I don't pretend in any way, shape, or form, and I don't want anybody to think this is what we're doing. By the way, show 1000 on the Monty Show. This is show 1000. And San Diego State, congratulations, you get to lead the way on show 1000.
Yeah.
But this is not personal to me. People get upset with us all the time. And it's usually because of situations like this, where an administrator like J.D. Wicker will get on Twitter and he will attack journalists who report facts. And then when you say, hey, can you explain to me what is not factually based here? What is fake in this article? And then they don't want to explain that.
Look at the Mark Harlan thing with Dennis Dodd, right? Because Mark Harlan did something up this alley, not nearly as bad, right? The give me a break tweet and the infamous we're not leaving tweet. But what was the difference with Mark Harlan's behavior? And I think this is a key point. Mark Harlan inevitably ends up apologizing to Dennis Dodd.
That's right.
Inevitably ends up making it good because he understands, hey, as an administrator at a prestigious university like the University of Utah, I need to go out of my way to say, hey, Dennis, I was frustrated in that moment reading your article. I didn't mean to disparage you publicly, and I apologize for what I said. But San Diego State never does that, which is why I continue to say I feel like San Diego State is a university full of administrators that have the little brother syndrome. And what I mean by that is you're constantly chasing the big fish. You're constantly chasing P5 status, which makes you feel like instead of doing business the proper way, right, and having conversations and figuring out the correct way to get into a P5, you want to come out here and you just want to yap. You're the yapping dog at the dog park that won't shut the hell up. That's what you are right now, and it's a bad look. And yeah, cool. If San Diego State fan wants to be upset today, that's fine. But don't be upset with us. Be upset with J.D. Wicker. Be upset with Adela Della Torre. Be upset with the people that run that institution, because I firmly believe if you had better leadership, you'd have been in the Big 12 already. I really do believe that.
I think like if the Seth Davis thing had never happened, if the Pac-12 letter had never happened, or really the letter detailing, hey, we need to withdraw, but we need a payment plan and we need an extra 30 days to make a decision. If you had never written that letter, if you had never said the pro rata we deserve, if you hadn't called out Dennis Dodd, who's one of the most well-respected journalists in all of college sports.
By anyone's measure.
If you hadn't done that, I think you'd be in the Big 12.
Like, just go, make your tournament run, and ride the coattails of that for as long as possible. It's not hard. Like, hey, Brett Yormark, we just made a deep tournament run. Hey, Brett Yormark, let me give you a fake stat about how good we are in football. We have one of the highest win percentage in the last 10 years in college football, even though we play in the Mountain West with a weak-ass schedule every year. Right?
Yep.
Run that out there with Brett and see what his reaction is. You never know.
And they don't want accountability. That's the thing that I struggle with so much. Is I don't even care necessarily that you're attacking good, hardworking media members. People that are no different than garbage men or lawyers or doctors or construction workers. They're just hardworking people. Dennis Dodd is really good at what he does. So attacking him and saying it's fake news and any fake stories, how do fake stories get written? That's where you lose me.
Yeah.
If J.D. Wicker would have said, hey, I'm going to call Dennis Dodd and I'm going to clarify some of the points in his article, I can 100% respect that. But when you call a guy a liar and you question his professionalism, dude, I can't get down with that, especially after everything that we've seen San Diego State do. So, and I'll leave it up to you guys. You're do you agree? Because my feeling on San Diego State, my unvarnished feeling is San Diego State's a damaged brand now, and I think it's why they didn't get an invite from the Big 12. I think it's why they can't draw P5 attention, and I think it's why, in this story, according to Dennis Dodd, I think it's why Adela Della Torre was not able to muster any energy to to complete this thing that she was trying to do. And listen, I'm trying to give San Diego State the benefit of the doubt. J.D. Wicker says it never happened. It's fake news. Where did it come from? What actually did happen? That's my question. Because I just don't understand the logic of Dennis Dodd at CBS Sports writing this piece and making something up.
Did dude just wake up today and be like, yeah, dude, I'm gonna need to go ahead and write a hit piece on San Diego State today, alleging that they led a coup to start another, conference that would try to retain the Pac-12's former P5 status, because we all know that the remnants of the Pac-12 and the Mountain West will not be a P5 conference. You will not get that rev payout. You will not have that kind of access. We all know that.
Yeah, it's, the funny thing is we were trying to confirm this story. Through leading up to the show, we were really trying to confirm the story. And the one quote that really stands out to me from one of the people we talked to today is their opinion that San Diego State is disappointing as usual, which is remarkable to me. Like, you're San Diego State. You are better than this, so be better than this. Yet you won't answer questions. You won't be held accountable. You won't put J.D. Wicker on the show or any other show, because notice it's not like J.D.'s doing a bunch of interviews. And hey, if we were just the hacks on YouTube and we had no idea what we were doing, and okay, I could totally get down with that. And you're like, you're terrible at your job. We're not putting J.D. Wicker on this hack of a show. Yet he's not anywhere because he can't answer the question.
Yeah.
And it doesn't need to happen. So my question now is, what does the Mountain West do from here? Because I'm not exaggerating when I say I don't think you can just let this go on. I don't think that you can just keep being in business with people that are trying to allegedly and reportedly damage your business on a regular basis. Mm-hmm. And if I am the remaining members of the Mountain West and I am Commissioner Navarez, I'm looking for sanctions against San Diego State. I want them to think twice and 3 and 4 times before they do what Dennis Dodd at CBS is alleging, which is poach the best, biggest remaining members of the Mountain West to put them with the 4 schools in the Pac-12 and the biggest names in the American to create a P5 conference. And it does not seem that far-fetched, because we already know through their own writing, which they don't deny they wrote the letter, we already know that San Diego State doesn't want to be in the Mountain West.
Well, and it kind of adds this feeling, at least for me, that it's like, hey, like, do Adela and JD just, have meetings and they're like, all right, well, what are we going to do? What can we do? What actually are our options here? How can we create, opportunity for ourselves? Which on its face, I agree with that concept. You always have to be trying to figure out how to give yourself more opportunity and more breathing room when it comes to realignment and what conference you're going to be in. But the idea that you think it's okay to try to create another conference from like 3 over here and 2 over there in the stale cereal that's been in the cupboard for a month, like, what are we doing? Like, how did you think that was going to work out? And that's really, for me, if I'm Brett Yormark, if I'm, any of these, like, really, if I'm the ACC commissioner, because you're not at this point, I don't think Brett's interested in you. You're definitely not interested to Greg Sankey or Tony Petitti.
But isn't this the same thing as Florida State?
No, I think it's worse than Florida State. I think Florida State has been public. I think Florida State has spoken. And it's okay if you disagree. And I do disagree with what Florida State is saying, right? I disagree with how they've gone about it. But hey, at least they're on record. At least dude has balls enough to come out and be like, yeah, dude, we're upset that UCF was able to get to the Big 12, and we're upset that we're not getting a share of the revenue that's much larger than what the other schools do, because we believe we make more revenue than all the other schools. Hey, great. If that's your thing, great. But they've put it out there.
Yes.
I can't even quote J.D. Wicker. I haven't heard.
Correct.
Dude, I haven't heard from J.D. Wicker, and I don't even remember how long it's been since he talked to Seth Davis. You're trending into the, again, no joking, you're going with the George Kliavkoff strategy, which is, I'm just simply not going to talk. So then everybody in the comments section and all the San Diego State Aztec Nation people want to get upset with outlets like us for talking about this. Maybe if your guy talked and went on record and came on shows, again, doesn't have to be our show, go on another show, whatever. But go on a show that's going to ask you follow-up questions and have a legitimate, ethical, and logical conversation.
Because that's what needs to happen here.
Yeah. San
Diego State, and look, I don't know, is San Diego State feeling themselves? Did San Diego State get a little uppity in the middle of late spring, early summer? I feel like they did. Mm-hmm. I feel like they're the guys that were like, oh, we're gone, we're in, it's all good, we can start talking about this publicly.
You know what they did? They counted their money before the money got deposited. That's what they did. They said, yep, we're gone, it's going to happen, and then it didn't happen. And so if that's all you had done, I still think you would have been fine. But because of the letter, because of this Dennis Dodd article, like even if Dennis Dodd's article is only 25% true, it's still a terrible look. Like even if you, Adela, only called one school and tried to get this done, it's still a terrible look.
It's an awful look. It is an awful look. And if you see, this is from Dennis Dodd's article at CBS Sports today. And as you hit the like button on the show, because there's 1,800 of you watching episode 1,000 of the Monty Show, which in and of itself is ridiculous. Mm-hmm. We are only 274 subscribers away from 23,000. So why don't you go ahead and hit the like button? And if you're not subscribed, all 1,854 of you, whoever's not subscribed, please consider hitting the subscribe button. As I read to you what Dennis Dodd wrote, San Diego State President Adela Della Torre was leading a push to assemble what would have amounted to a breakaway of the best schools from the Mountain West, the American, and the remnants of the Pac-12, Cal, Stanford, Oregon, and Washington State. To which, and again, fair is fair, John David Wicker, otherwise known as J.D. Wicker, the athletic director at San Diego State, flatly said, fake news, disappointed in the number of absolute fake articles that get written these days. And he says, hashtag integrity in journalism.
Yeah, and you know what my other problem with this is? Is that fake news, the term fake news, no matter who you are, has a connotation with a certain individual who doesn't exactly have the highest level of integrity. So instead of rolling out fake news, maybe you could speak professionally, because, you know, it's not like you're the athletic director of a major institution in the state of California, right? Maybe you could have said, hey, yeah, this just didn't happen. With all due respect to Dennis Dodd, this never happened. We didn't do this. But he can't say that because then he'd be lying, because it did happen. That's the best point I think we make the whole show.
And that's all that you can assume here, is that if San Diego State does not answer when you ask, hey, what is fake about this? What is dishonest about this? What lacks integrity about this? Because that's what we asked. This is the exact email, a screenshot of the email I sent to our guy at San Diego State. Hey, can you clarify? And the entire building is shaking right now. Mm-hmm. Can you clarify? And we've gotten no response on that. And I think you're right. This is worse than what's going on in the ACC.
Yeah.
I think at least Florida State is out in front torching the ACC.
And hey, maybe that's that. Not even maybe. I do think it's not a great strategy, but it is their strategy. And at least they deserve respect enough because they're on the record.
And they're doing media, and they're taking questions about it. And they have no bones about the fact that we make more money than everybody else. We deserve more money. We're going to leave so we get more money. Yeah. Okay, hey, that's a great position to be in. It means people don't like you, as we've talked about all week long. And by the way, I think it's really important to note the ACC met and took no action on Stanford and Cal. And there's a little more I want to get to on that in 2 minutes. But to wrap up this San Diego State thing, this is another very dark day for San Diego State. It's another day of humiliation. It's another day of embarrassment. It's another day of damage to the brand, and it's 100% self-inflicted. Mm-hmm. None of it ever had to happen. You don't hear this, and comparably speaking, you don't hear this from Boise State. You don't hear this from Fresno State, right? You don't hear these guys talking about breaking away and trying to form a P5 conference. I view San Diego State, Boise State, to a little lesser extent, Fresno State, on very equal footing in that conference. Very equal footing. But you don't hear those guys complaining. They're scheming. They're working behind the scenes. I guarantee that, as they should be. And I actually have no problem. If it is true that Adela de la Torre tried to form a breakaway conference, I have no problem with that. I really don't. My problem begins where if it actually happened and you're calling an esteemed journalist a liar and questioning his integrity and his ethics
publicly.
Yeah, I have a problem with that. And then when you're invited on one of the biggest sports talk shows on YouTube to talk about it and you say we're going to pass, and then you don't reply to emails asking for clarification, that's a fucking problem.
Yeah.
That's where the problem begins.
Yeah.
For
and
me.
Again, for all the commenters, right? I'll just get ahead of it. I'm sure it's in the comments section. Haven't seen them yet. For all the people saying, oh, well, you guys just do a YouTube show. Okay, fine. Sure. Great.
I'm with that.
If that's, if you want to characterize us as that's fine. We are on YouTube. That doesn't mean we're doing a show in our basement, right? That's not what that means. It's two different things. But that's not even the point. They're not doing media at all.
None.
They're not even talking to the local newspaper. They're not doing the Michael Crow and talking to the institution's, newspaper. They're not going on podcasts like Ray Anderson did. They're not doing any of that. So don't tell me that it's just us being red asses and assholes and we're just unfair and, you guys just hate San Diego State. If you want to lie in that bed, San Diego State fan, and you want to tell yourself that story, that's fine. You can live with that. The reality of the situation is, as soon as they come out on record, they know they will look foolish. Because as soon as someone asks a follow-up question, as soon as Crapia from the Oregonian shows up on J.D. Wicker's front door, then they know they have a problem, right? So my point is, don't get mad at us. Get mad at J.D. Wicker. That's the guy responsible.
I think it is. And let's assume, real quick, because Salamini actually makes a really good point. And I don't know. I don't know if you are, and I'm sorry, we're getting 1,000,001 comments today, so I apologize. But Salamini was basically saying, "Hey, you guys keep saying if it's true, or well, I'm trying to give San Diego State the benefit of the doubt. When your athletic director comes out swinging at Dennis Dodd, I'm going to hope that this tweet is true, that it never happened, and it's complete bullshit that Dennis Dodd published at CBS. Yeah, the only problem with that is this is Dennis Dodd. This isn't Alex Jones or some alien dude. It's Dennis Dodd at CBS.
Infowars.com.
And I look at what Dennis wrote, and the problem is it's absolutely believable. From what we have seen of Adela de la Torre through this Pac-12, just the pro rata statement alone. And again, I don't know Adela de la Torre. We've asked her to come on the show. We've gotten flatly denied. I don't know her. I know her work. And her work speaks volumes about her ability to be an operator.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at the presidents that I think are elite in this area. Again, Taylor Randall, Bobby Robbins. When people speak, you know the goods. Brett Yormark, that's the goods. Kirk Schultz, that's not the goods. Right? That's not the goods. Not at all. Ray Anderson at Arizona State, that's not the goods. That's not the goods at all. Adela de la Torre at San Diego State, that's not the goods. When you say something like the pro rata we deserve, and then this story by Dennis Dodd comes out where, hey, it's a best of the Mountain West, American, and Pac-12, is that really such a stretch? Is that really unbelievable based on the actions we've seen from Adela de la Torre?
Mm-hmm.
Based on the actions we've seen from J.D. Wicker.
This is not a stretch that this would happen, dude.
I would not be surprised. Frankly, if I'm San Diego State, I wouldn't even think that's a bad move. I don't even think it's a bad move. The bad move happens when you refuse to talk about it and then you rip a guy and you refuse to be held accountable for that.
Yeah. That's
where the bad move is. And I think I see everybody talking about this. I think it's a big deal. I do. And I'd love your, here's Salamini. It's an unproven single source driven article created for clicks. So, listen, my guy, you're a regular on this show. I respect you. I'm not saying you're wrong. When has that ever been Dennis Dodd's MO? When has Dennis Dodd ever been the guy who's like, I got to write something because I'm not getting enough clicks. Let me fabricate a story and name names. Fabricating a story. Do you know how dangerous that is?
Yeah,
that's the stuff of millions of dollars in libel. That's the stuff, millions of dollars in, reputation damage. If it's such a lie, and Dennis Dodd, as Adam Salamini says, unproven single source driven article created for clicks, isn't that slander? If you're John David Wicker and you're Adela Della Torre, aren't you, instead of going after him on Twitter, aren't you going after him in the court system? Right? I mean, because he's saying that Dennis Dodd, if we're to believe J.D. Wicker, and if we're all Team Salamini, aren't we to believe that Dennis Dodd completely lied, completely fabricated this? One of the most respected and esteemed reporters in all of college sports decided on a Tuesday at like noon Eastern that he was just going to, fuck it, I'm all in, I'm making stuff up now.
Hey, don't we have a tweet from another administrator retweeting Dennis Dodd months before the Pac-12 collapse, talking about, hey, the four corner schools are going to leave?
Well, we had that tweet.
We had that tweet. Okay. We had that tweet at one point. The point is, that didn't really work out either, right? Everyone said, oh, Dennis Dodd, fake news, he's lying, and then here we are.
Mark Harlan from the athletic director at Utah, that was the famous give me a break.
In December.
And then
here we are. So, look, if you want to be the guy, and Salamini, I'm not trying to make it personal with you, but you're the guy giving us a bunch of crap on Twitter about this too, so you have it coming a bit here. Like, if you want to be the guy that's going to say that Dennis Dodd's making up stories for clicks, you should probably learn which tree to bark up and which one not to bark up. The guy has no need to make up stories for clicks. Notice, he's not behind a paywall, right? Last time I checked, Dennis Dodd's not behind a paywall.
He's not.
Right? So Dennis Dodd doesn't need the clicks. Dennis Dodd doesn't need people to go running through his Twitter. Dennis Dodd doesn't care whether you agree or not. In fact, Dennis Dodd needs guys like you, Salamini, to roll out on Twitter and say he's a liar and he's fake. Because what happens? Right? CBS Sports benefits immensely because what does that do? Everybody starts reading the article. Everybody sees the ads on Dennis Dodd's story, right? So before you roll out and say that, hey, it's clickbait and it's fake and you guys just hate San Diego State and X, Y, and Z, you have to consider the ramifications of what you're saying, whether you're Salamini or you're J.D. Wicker. That's how this game is played. And so I just don't understand what the affinity is with hating on Dennis Dodd. He's not John Canzano. John Canzano works behind a paywall. John Canzano needs people to pay for his stuff. So, to do that, you create headlines. You create things that may not necessarily be true.
SMU is going to pay a $70 million entry fee to get into the Pac-12. Read it behind my paywall by paying X amount of dollars.
Oh,
Dennis Dodd is at CBS Sports, CBS HQ, CBSSports.com. The link is on my Twitter. You're free to go and read it. Are we really, you guys, and Salamini, I'm curious if you truly believe, you really think that Dennis Dodd just straight up fabricated this story?
It's incredible.
You think that Dennis Dodd just said, nah, bro, I'm going to lie. I'm going to make up this story right now. Come on. I think do you really believe that?
And if you do, we'll just agree to disagree because I think you're off your rocker if you believe that.
San Diego State Aztec Glenn gives us $20 to say, hate to say it, I've stomached much of what's been said here to date. But Jake, your fake news comment observation is exactly what I was thinking when I read Wicker's comment in real time. Not a good last 2-3 months. And I agree with that 100%. And this is why I continue to say, San Diego State, dude, you're better than this.
Glenn, I appreciate you, bro.
So be better than this. Like the whole, I don't even care that fake news means he made it up. You're calling him a liar. And there's just no evidence to that. And why not come out? Why, if you're San Diego State and you're Adela Della Torre and you're JD Wicker, why wouldn't you sit down with your local San Diego TV station or whoever your go-to sports guy
Your
is?
Aztec podcast.
And have an open, honest discussion about it. Give your alumni, like Glenn is one of the most passionate supporters of an institution we have on this show.
Correct.
Glenn, San Diego State Aztec, loves him some San Diego State Aztec.
And by the way, for all of those who are new to the show, me and Glenn have gone to battle on this show. Me and Glenn have gone to blows over San Diego State on this show right here. And so that's why I say I appreciate what Glenn has to say here, even if it is your university. Like, I'm not trying to say that San Diego State as a university overall is shit. I'm not saying that.
Not at all.
But what I am saying is that the athletic department right now is causing much more problems for itself than it needs to. You don't have to write letters. You don't have to tweet. And by the way, I think the best point here is if you're so married to this stance that this is fake news and Dennis Dodd is lying, then come out and talk about it. Because do you understand, as an administrator on J.D. Wicker's level, if you're going to do this to somebody, don't you have to be married to that take? Don't you forever have to be on the hill of, hey, this is fake news, never happened? But you're never going to come out and talk about it. And that's what I think is a bad look. I'm cool. I've always been cool with people who have opposing views. If you want to say the sky is red instead of blue, we can argue about that if you're willing to talk about it. But if you're just going to go on and be a keyboard warrior like the average fan, and then you're not going to talk about it, what are we doing?
That's a hard pill to swallow. That is a hard pill to swallow. More of you, less of us, you guys. It's our 1,000th show. We couldn't have done it without you. Thank you so much. We get more than 5,000 comments a day on this show. Thank you so much for that. We're pushing 23,000 subscribers. We are now just 258 subscribers away from 23,000. Let's get this done today. Hit the subscribe button. Please give us a thumbs up. Hit the like. It really, really helps our channel grow. Thank you for that. Couple of new members to shout out today. Big shout out to Chris George.
Let's go, baby.
Let's go, Chris George. Appreciate you. Domer Wop.
Domer.
Oh. Let's go, Domer Wop. Brother Bigfoot gives us $5. Congrats on 1,000 episodes. Best show back to front. Appreciate you. See, back to front.
See what he did there?
Jake, as the show
back to front,
as the show's representing Virgin, Jake is absolutely a back to front guy.
Right.
So we appreciate that. Domer Wop for $2. Mountain West needs to tell San Diego State, go get your shine box, dude. If you're San Diego State, if you're the Mountain West, I don't know how you trust San Diego State. I really don't.
Yeah.
I really, really don't. Dibs for $5. San Diego State's that yipping Chihuahuas.
Seriously.
They just are so thirsty.
Yep.
They're just so thirsty. It's incredible. Tom Dean for $10. Thank you, Tom. Good to see you. Here's to 1,000 shiny new pennies for 1,000 shows. By the way, Monty, next time Jake asks you for something, reply to him with, as you wish, Princess Butterbutt.
Well.
As you wish.
And, pardon me,
Princess Butterbutt. Stan, do you want to take back your comment about Trump and fake news, or do you want to get Bud Lighted? Well, I think that terminology, I don't care about the whole Trump thing, wrong show, different show. The whole term fake news, it's just a tactic to deflect what is real news.
Yeah.
That's the truth. And again, I think as it applies to San Diego State, the fake news term is not you lied, this never happened. It's simply a can't believe how many fake stories get written. And again, this is what J.D. Wicker, the athletic director at San Diego State, wrote. He retweeted Dennis Dodd's article. So he took the link and embedded it and said fake news, disappointed in the number of absolute fake articles that get written these days.
We're a victim. Everybody hates us. Fake news. Like
integrity in journalism. Hashtag integrity in journalism. What he's doing there, Stan, is he's trying to deflect from the fact that either this never really happened, which why didn't you say this is completely false?
Yeah.
This never happened. Notice he just said fake news. Notice he didn't say it didn't happen. There are unequivocal ways. If something is completely fabricated, there's easy ways to say this is completely fabricated. It never happened.
And it just, you know what, dude? I have no problem saying it. It lacks class overall. I don't even care that he disagrees with the article. The point is not that you disagree. The point is that you're classless. Like, there are better ways to say, hey, this never happened. But again, he's never going to deny it actually happened, because then he's got to come out and talk about it. Then he forces Dennis Dodd's hand, right? Like, at some point, there's a fine line, which is why I say, dude, you can run that crap out about, Donnie and all this other stuff. I'm not here to talk about Donnie.
No.
I'm here to talk about a phrase that everyone and their mom uses now to deflect from the conversation. It's not fake news, JD. It's not. It is what Dennis Dodd is being told from his network of sources. And it's so funny how you don't comment on all those other stories.
Yeah.
Right? Where was the fake news mantra on what's happening in the ACC? Where was fake news when he was talking about, the Pac-12 falling apart? You didn't say fake news then because that didn't work out for you, right? Fake news wouldn't have worked out when Dennis Dodd wrote in December that the four corner schools were leaving and you weren't going to, in fact, get that pro rata you deserved. So I'm not really here for, hey, do you want to take back your comment? No, I don't, because I think it's a bad look for an administrator to roll out fake news when you're supposed to be at a very prestigious university, which you are, in my opinion. San Diego State is a great school, and you represent them in such a poor fashion. That's the issue.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's shocking. It's absolutely shocking. Kyle A. says, Brett doesn't seem like the type of guy who puts up with that. San Diego State seems to think they are a bigger brand than they are.
Yeah.
We always talk about it on the show. You got to know who you are and where you are. And I think as an athletic department, San Diego State made the Pac-12 mistake, which is they overvalued themselves. So you wind up asking for far too much in return. And it's somebody like, SMU. Nicole Auerbach at The Athletic is reporting the ACC is vetting SMU to add them with Stanford and Cal. Well, it's how SMU is getting added to the ACC and San Diego State may not be.
Right.
Which is unbelievable. It's unbelievable. San Diego State is in one of the most luscious financial sectors of this country when it comes to TV viewership.
Yes.
And not a major conference has come calling.
Facts.
How do you explain that? Other than I think there's a lot of people who don't want to do business with them. Hey, my guy Jet Wayman, what's up? The Tile King of Utah. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well. Congratulations on show 1000. It's been a hell of a ride, guys. Yes, it has.
Appreciate you, Jet.
Jet, you've been here from day one, man. And we appreciate you. Really appreciate you. Matt Riley for $5. Folks, it was a lie. Then San Diego State would be telling us they're looking at their legal options.
Right?
I totally agree. If it were a lie, they'd be talking to their lawyers. JC for $2. Another shot at Fresno State. Why, Monty? Angry Fresno State fan. Well,
dude, you're pissing off Fresno State fan. We can't have that, dude.
I love my friends in good old Reedley, California.
Yeah.
I do. But Fresno, Tucky, listen, man, I don't dislike Fresno State. But what is our mantra on this show? The truth in sports talk. The truth in sports talk is Fresno State doesn't have the draw. They don't have the tradition. They don't I would take San Diego State far before I would take Fresno State.
Facts.
Far before
Yes.
Fresno State. I think Fresno State is just, with all due respect, Fresno Tucky is in a very interesting area. And I think Cal and Stanford are far more of a draw. I think you look at Oregon State and Washington. Well, let's not get carried away. Oregon State's far more of a draw. San Diego State's far more of a draw. But honestly, I'd take Fresno State over SMU.
Mm-hmm.
But you're effed. You're in a weird spot. Like it's not a shot if it's true. Anthony says Dennis Dodd has a terrible track record on realignment. Might be the case. But is he a liar, and does he make up stories for clicks?
Yeah, and again, I'm not in the business of defending Dennis, but I'd love to hear what terrible track record, what cases you have.
He's been wrong on expansion stuff. There's no doubt about it. Not everybody can be perfect like such as and like myself.
Mm-hmm.
Nick Jonas for $5. Or Jones. Oh, I was going to say we love your music. Jake Hedberg video of Oregon State AD joking around about realignment. Yikes. And I'm a huge Scott Barnes fan. He is the athletic director at Oregon State. LB Seminole, who's been a member for 5 months. Thank you, LB. Says hashtag Monty1000. Kaufman says, get job as always. Keep it up. Good job as always. I appreciate that. Jerry Davis, San Diego State coach Brady Hoke has been very quiet during all of this. Yes, he has. Got to think he steps down at the end of the season if the board doesn't fire the AD and president for incompetence. I don't know about that. San Diego State's a hell of a job.
Yeah.
Because the minute you win at San Diego State,
yeah,
you're gold. You're gold. No doubt about that. Barfing Chickens. Congrats on 100 or on 1,000, guys. Nice to see the hacks on YouTube can almost all of conference realignment correctly and blow up in the process. Thank you. I appreciate that. And I know that a lot of you have, are here for NBA. That's how you started on this show. We talk a ton of football. And yeah, this is our 1,000th show. It's wild.
Yes.
It is absolutely wild. And the argument is, do we keep numbering the shows now?
Yeah, so are you team number or team just like, hey, the Monty Show, it's August 9th?
Yeah, I think I'm not a number guy after today. I think 1,000's cool. Again, we're only 250 subscribers away from 23,000.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. San Diego State Glenn says, my once proud school continues to embarrass itself after building up so much goodwill during the NCAA tournament. You guys are throwing so much shade, but you are right. Appreciate all the work you do. Thanks, Glenn.
I appreciate you.
And again, I want people to understand, there is no favorites played on this show. The truth is the truth, and there's no way to separate. That's why the fake news thing is just so annoying. Because it's either the truth or it's a lie. And if it's a lie and you want to call out a lie about yourself, do it. Do it. Come correct, man. Make sure that people, hey, we're not going to tolerate lying about San Diego State.
Mm-hmm.
And, hey, if that's what you're doing, I'm good with that. I am for passionate defense. Absolutely. But I am not for slandering and pounding people that work really hard to be good at their job like Dennis Dodd.
Yeah.
Because it's not easy to do what Dennis Dodd does.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy in any way. Real quick before we get too far, I want to talk about this ACC thing because Nicole Auerbach at The Athletic, somebody who, again, I think works really hard to do a good job, she is reporting that SMU is an expansion target of the ACC. And I guess here's what I'm asking about the ACC. And if you're an ACC country, I'd love to get your opinion on this. Does SMU solve any of your problems? That I guess is my biggest question.
Mm-hmm.
What does SMU do for the ACC? It's the same conversation we had about the Pac-12 and SMU.
Yeah.
Does SMU in any way deliver Dallas, Texas? Well, I think we all know the answer to that.
Yeah, we've outlined why they don't.
They don't give you Dallas. Do they give you a presence in Texas? They do. But you're not Lubbock. You're not Austin. You're not Dallas. You're not Houston. You're not San Antonio. Frankly, you're not Rice. I think you're just this brand that's on the outskirts of Dallas.
Yeah.
So the question I have is, what does the ACC need with SMU? And I would love to have a real conversation about this, because I'm one of the people who believe that the ACC cannot rightfully afford to add Stanford and Cal. I think it's a huge mistake. If you add them, you are only asking for trouble. And if the numbers are true and the ACC distributed $44 million, and hey, that's all well and good. That's great. But how much of that money stays in their pockets, and how much extra reach does Stanford and Cal really afford Georgia Tech, really afford Miami, really afford Florida State? Because it goes back to this Florida State conundrum, where Florida State doesn't want to be in the league anymore. So let's say somehow, some way, ESPN agrees to pay for Stanford and Cal. How much are you at Florida State willing to give Stanford and Cal? Are you willing to give them a full share? You're not. You're not. If there's new money coming into the conference, some of that new money needs to go into the Florida State coffers. I think we all know that's what they're going to say. So what is Stanford and Cal going to get? Are they going to get $30 million? And Clemson and Florida State split the $28 million combined that is being left on the table by Stanford and Cal? That doesn't make a lot of sense, because now you're putting the conference under tremendous pressure and tremendous stress by having two universities that are having to fight their way through athletic budgets.
Right.
So that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Now, again, the Stanford endowment is significant. It's over $1 billion for sports. But I'm looking at an athletic department at Cal Berkeley that's in a massive hundreds of millions of dollars worth of debt on its football stadium renovation. I'm looking at a situation where they're not generating revenue through ticket sales, merchandising, beer sales, food sales. Like, that's not going on at Berkeley. They don't draw enough to do that because their teams are not good. So I guess my question is, what value does SMU bring to the ACC, and why all of a sudden, and what are we missing about SMU that all of a sudden makes them the flavor of the day in expansion?
Yeah, I mean, I think conferences a lot of times just go through a process where they vet every single option. Hey, how much value is there in adding SMU as just one of those schools that chills out at the bottom of our conference and is an auto win for our member institutions who are trying to get to the college football playoff, there's a variety of reasons why you might consider, a smaller school in Texas, right? It's really a philosophical conversation, but I think, ultimately nothing's changed in SMU's situation that we're aware of, right? They're still SMU. They still don't provide you Dallas. And yeah, are they a nice little brand? Yes. So maybe it's a scheduling thing. Maybe it's a flexibility thing. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But what I can tell you is that doesn't change, Florida State's position, right? That doesn't change, the current state of affairs in the ACC. So for me, my stance has always been, if Stanford and Cal were 2 hours away instead of 4 or 5 hours away, SMU wouldn't even be in the conversation. I think that's what's tough for Stanford and Cal right now, is that there are other options for the ACC. However, those options are not P5. Those options are much lower down the totem pole. So it's like, okay, if we're the ACC, do we want to add 2 P5 schools, maybe 4 P5 schools out of the pack and work with travel? Or do we want to skip that opportunity, add someone who's lower in the ecosystem, but also not having any chance to make us real money, almost ever? But it gives us scheduling flexibility. I mean, that's what you're talking about when we talk about, hey, they're vetted and they're evaluating the opportunity. That doesn't mean that SMU is some favorite to land in the ACC. It just means that there's someone that they're evaluating.
Yeah, I think the ACC, and I would hope the Mountain West. I think they're both being very aggressive here. And I think if you are the Mountain West, you have to find a way as soon as possible to expand if you're the Mountain West. Mm-hmm. You have to get Washington State and Oregon State to join the Mountain West as soon as you can possibly get that. Because I don't think you're not getting, in my opinion, Stanford and Cal. In the Mountain West, I don't see that as an option for them. I think Oregon State, Washington State, those are two very critical adds for the Mountain West. And I just think it's really important that this happen sooner than later, because the ACC is very, very active right now. We've heard this for weeks. We've talked about it. Florida State wants out. Clemson wants out. I think one of the main reasons the Big Ten, and we've talked about this at length on the show, one of the main reasons the Big Ten did not go to 20 is because I think they're waiting for the ACC to bend. And I have to believe if the ACC falls apart and you can get Notre Dame to bring all of their sports to the Big Ten, and I happen to know from sources that North Carolina is somebody that the Big Ten really likes, if they can add Notre Dame and North Carolina, I think that's who 19 and 20 are. And I think that's exactly why you did not get, Stanford and Cal joining the Big Ten right now. Because the Big Ten knows that they have to be flexible and they have to keep those spots open for future expansion.
Yes.
Because I think this is just the beginning.
Of course.
I don't think this is the end of expansion and realignment. I think this is just the beginning. I think you're looking at a situation. Greg Sankey told Paul Feinbaum today that the College Football Playoff Committee has to reassess 12 teams in the playoff, and you have to have an at-large bid. Like, this is all these changes. All these changes are chain reactions. You have the Big 12 dominating an expansion. Do you really think that's not going to start a tidal wave?
Yeah.
Because it is. It is going to start a tidal wave. And that tidal wave has already drowned out the Pac-12. That already happened. The Mountain West has to act right now. I think the ACC, if they want to somehow keep Florida State, and I don't know that that's a thing. I don't know that that's possible. But if the ACC wants to keep Florida State, and probably by extension Clemson, they better do something significant. But is Stanford and Cal significant? Is that what's going to keep the ACC together, man? I don't think we can sit here and say that.
Well, and I think when you look at, what Greg Sankey also said, talking about how there's not an expansion target out there for the SEC right now. And I think that's really brilliant. Again, notice all the people coming out and talking about expansion, right? These are all people who have nothing to hide. These are all people who just are talking about the situation as they see it, whether it's Florida State, whether it's Greg Sankey, whether it's Brett Yormark or Tony Petitti, right? Whether it's Robbins or the fellas up at Utah, like all these people talking about their situation. Nothing to hide. Hey, this is how we saw it, right? This statement out of Kirk Schultz, right? Up at Washington State talking about, hey, this is how we saw the deal and X, Y, like nothing to hide. And so that's why I say in expansion, conferences are always going to publicly vet every opportunity. I don't believe for a second that SMU is a serious candidate to join the ACC. It doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not.
It's only $10 million to get out of their AAC agreement.
The only reason you would add them is that right there. It's a budget buy that can help you with scheduling if you were to be unbalanced. To which I say that was more of a Brett Yormark problem than really an ACC problem. If you think about it, Brett Yormark in the Big 12 in this whole expansion conversation with Gonzaga and several other candidates was facing an unbalanced situation, which is where you'd bring in a budget buy to balance out scheduling.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how you fix this. I truly don't know how you fix the state of college football, because we are becoming, and I want to talk about this tweet from Nicole Auerbach, who talked about the need. And Dennis Dodd, and I know Dennis Dodd lies and fabricates everything, J.D. Wicker, but Dennis Dodd has a really interesting quote from Greg Sankey, just reiterated his frustration with no one on the NCAA Council speaking up on issues at a recent meeting he attended, unstated but assumed in that frustration only 7 of the council's 39 members are from P5 schools. The big boys want to rule the big boys.
Yeah.
They don't want to hear from G5s. They don't want to hear from lower level institutions like SMU. They don't want to hear from AAC. They don't want to hear from the American. They don't want to hear from the Mountain West. So I think we are in a very precarious time. And I don't know. I do not know how long all this can go on.
Yeah.
But it has been a very interesting show, and watching all this madness is only better when you have marinara meatballs.
At Papa Murphy's, we do more than just pizza. We do meatballs and marinara.
Actually, I do the meatballs and marinara.
And how do you do it, Dad?
How do I do it? How do I do it?
Order now at papamurphys.com.
Papa Murphy's Pizza, the official pizza of the Monty Show. Make sure you use the promo code Monty25 to save 25% off your purchase of $25 or more at Papa Murphy's Pizza. Welcome to the Monty Show number 1000. This hour of the show presented by our friends at TryDayTrading.com, who are giving you a pair of tickets to see Texas at Baylor on September 23rd. You guys asked for this game. We have told you repeatedly, hey, what game do you want us to give tickets away to? Last week it was BYU's opening game against Cincinnati, their first ever home Big 12 conference game. We gave those tickets away. This week on Friday at let's see, 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern, we will announce the winner of the Texas at Baylor tickets for you, presented by TryDayTrading.com. To have a chance to win those tickets, all you have to do is go to TryDayTrading.com and sign up for their 30-day $10 trial membership. Now, the $10 is a charitable donation, so that's a tax write-off for you, right? So that's a $10 tax write-off. And what you get is TryDay Trading's teaching program on how to become an elite day trader. You get the whole thing in that 30 days. And at the end of that 30 days, hey, you know what? If you're not interested in it or you don't want to take part, great, walk away from it. It costs you nothing to walk away. It costs you nothing to walk away. But if I said to you, hey, I'll give you good seats to see Texas and Baylor for $10, would you take them? Of course you would. TryDayTrading.com/Monty. Sign up for the trial membership. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. Then just take a picture, grab a screenshot of it, and hit us on Twitter or Instagram, The Monty Show, MONTY, The Monty Show, on Twitter and Instagram. And you can also tag Jake, SLC Jake. We want to send you out to see Texas and Baylor. All you have to do is get to TryDayTrading.com. A lot of breaking news in college football at this hour. Dennis Dodd is live tweeting Greg Sankey, making a good case for being a head of the NCAA or B, president of college football, which is something I think is coming. I think that there will be, whether it's the NCAA or whatever the management body in college football winds up being, I think you're going to see somebody of Greg Sankey's ilk, one of the P5 power players, is going to become the president of all college football. And I think one of the guys who I think has a great chance at that gig, Brett Yormark, because he's been such an operator.
Yeah.
But I think there is going to be a president of college football, and Greg Sankey is pulling no punches. He wants P5 decisions made by P5 administrators. And I got to tell you, I think he's absolutely right. I think this Dennis Dodd tweet is a very interesting one on where Greg Sankey's mind's at. And I think this actually, though, real quick, and the point I want to make is, I think this is a really dangerous time for every G5 league.
Yes, it is.
Because I think, almost without question, if you are San Diego State, I understand why you're trying to get to a P5. Because as a G5, you have no control over your destiny. Look at Dennis Dodd's tweet here. Greg Sankey just reiterated his frustration with no one on the NCAA Council speaking up on issues at a recent meeting he attended. So no one on the council spoke up on some pretty big issues. Unstated but assumed in that frustration, 7 of the council's 39 members are from P5 schools.
Yeah, and I just think that we're heading, the direction that college football is heading is haves and have-nots, and it's been that way, for quite some time now.
Yes.
The haves should have the control. You've earned that position, and the have-nots, you guys, can complain and say it's unfair, but the reality of the situation is what it is. It's easier in basketball to become a have than a have-not. I will say that, but in football, it's really difficult. And I think if you're a have in football, you deserve that opportunity to run the business ops, 100%.
And boy, this, you want to know why Paul Feinbaum matters? Because this is all on Feinbaum's show that this is going on. Pat 40 is also, it's amazing that Greg Sankey is talking about how much damage the media did to the Pac-12. Do you guys buy into this theory? There is a theory out there that the Pac-12 was damaged by all the negative and positive media stuff that was all fabricated. So you look at this Pat 40, a really respected college football and really college sports writer. The speculation in some of the pronouncements we've seen is problematic, Sankey said. Last week, it just wasn't one of the great feelings to work in college sports. Greg Sankey on the Feinbaum show talking about the death of the Pac-12.
Right.
And you know what? I think we talked about that pretty openly on the show. This was not a good period of time for the Pac-12. But it also was a terrible period of time for college sports watching a conference eat itself.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you look at this right here, Greg Sankey on Feinbaum, we're very clear that there's not something out there that we should be reaching for in the SEC, meaning there's no school, there's no new member of the SEC that they want to add that they feel like is on par.
Hey, FSU, go F yourself.
I mean, that's
what he's saying.
It's a pretty bold statement.
Yeah.
And I not to keep going back to this situation with San Diego State, but if you're Florida State, what have you been doing? You've been trashing all of your fellow conference members up and down about how bad they are at what they do, and we're the ones that make the money, and we deserve more money. And what has San Diego State been doing? The pro rata we deserve. We're going somewhere. It won't be the Mountain West, but we're going somewhere. Just trashing all their members,
yes.
Disrespecting their conference. Other conferences and other commissioners and other conference members, they take note of that.
Yep.
And I know that we have a big Florida State contingent on the show. I'd love to hear from Florida State fans. You cannot tell me that Florida State has not burned its bridge in a lot of different stretches of this country. Florida State has all but said we want SEC membership. We want to be in the SEC. And I understand there's a large group of people in this country who think, oh, Florida State belongs in the Big Ten. I got news for you. Florida State belongs in the SEC if they're going to move conferences. But I don't think the SEC wants that headache.
Yeah.
And this is the question I continue to ask about Cal and Stanford. If you're Cal and Stanford, you just got forcefully pushed out of one of the most insecure situations we've ever seen in sports. Professional, amateur, college, whatever.
Yeah.
The Pac-12 was one of the most destabilized situations in the history of sports. Now you want to go from that to the ACC? You want to leave that frying pan for the ACC fire? I think you're crazy. To get into bed with somebody like Florida State, who's no different than what USC and UCLA were for this conference. Mm-hmm. No different. They like themselves. They want more money. They want more credit.
Yep.
And I wouldn't do it. I just would not. I would not do it.
Yeah, and I think that, again, as Greg Sankey's made perfectly clear here with his comments, once again, J.D. Wicker on the record. Yeah, the SEC doesn't have to do anything.
Nothing.
The SEC, as Jay Monahan said, is in a control position, right? They are looking.
That's right.
They are looking down on you from the mountaintops in college football and saying, "Hey, yeah, great, cool, you guys can all realign, but as Greg said, we don't need our teams to be in 4 conferences to be nationally relevant. We have the biggest brands in college football. We got the national championship game on lock for like the last 10 years." Right? Like, I mean, they do. So call it arrogant, call it whatever you want. But that's the reality of the situation, to which I said this last week. Hey, winning matters in college football. If you're going to be the conference that's got Georgia and Alabama in it, you're never going to struggle for money. But if you're going to be the conference that never wins anything in the college football playoff, you're going to struggle for money.
That's a different conversation. OG Gary gives us the 5-month membership note, by the way.
Let's go, baby.
He's been a member for 5 months. Give me a break, quote unquote. Mountain West, we need that drop, Jake. Yeah.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Probably.
Seriously. Aztec Glenn gives us $10. My once proud school continues to embarrass itself after building up so much goodwill during the NCAA tournament. Seriously. You guys are throwing so much shade, but you're right. Yeah, yeah, as I said before. Sorry. Brandon James gives us $5. Love your show. Congrats on 1,000. Give them hell, Brigham. Give them hell. BYU. Did you guys see BYU is having physical fights at camp? Fall camp getting scrappy, yo.
Yep.
Renee Roca joins our membership. What's up, Renee? Let's go. Renee, good to see you. Boss Frog gives us $10. Hey, Team Money Monty, great show. Could it be plausible that adding SMU or Stanford or Cal to the ACC gives them the opportunity to restructure their grant of rights and media contract? Like to get your thoughts. It will. You have to alter your grant of rights to add teams because you have to get their grant of rights onto your grant of rights. But that process, from what I've been told, does not open up for Florida State to bail.
Yeah.
It does not. So, yes, it opens up their grant of rights. No, it does not mean that all of a sudden they're going to bail.
Yeah, hey, we're adding membership, Fox. We need to get value for these schools. What do you think?
Yeah. I am amazed. This Feinbaum interview with Greg Sankey it's over now, but it's been epic. Like he talked about everything from COVID in 2020. He said he reached out to the Stanford AD, Bernard Muir, and Pat Chun, former Pac-12 Commissioner Tom Hansen, after the day whose name shall not be uttered. He didn't have to, but he did. That's leadership. And I think Greg Sankey's been a really good leader. I do.
Yeah.
I do. He's not popular. He's not popular by any stretch, but I think it's pretty hard to argue that Greg Sankey hasn't been a good leader because I think he has been. And Donuts, official Monty Show Canyons Golf Fund. Congrats on the show. And Donuts, thank you.
Thank you.
Canyons Golf, our official golf club up in Park City. I'll be golfing alone all weekend long. If you guys would like to come up to Canyons and golf with me, I need a second. No, not going to read your comment. You could just, if you guys are going to have inflammatory names, I'm not going to read your comment. I missed the start, guys. Did San Diego State try to initiate a full pullout from the Mountain West?
Yeah.
See what he did there?
A full pullout.
Yeah. If you're just tuning in, let's recap the news. I think that's a great reminder. Thank you. CBS Sports, Dennis Dodd reporting San Diego State tried to form a breakaway Power 5 conference. And according to Dennis, it was Adela de la Torre who tried to get the biggest names in the Mountain West, the American, and the 4 remaining Pac-12 members to form a new P5 conference. Now, from what we've heard and read now to this point, Adela de la Torre doesn't sound like made any ground on that at all.
Mm-hmm.
And J.D. Wicker says that's because it's a completely fake story.
Congratulations, but that's bullshit.
J.D. Wicker tweeted a link to the story, said it's fake news, and he's disappointed in the number of absolute fake articles that get written these days. Hashtag integrity journalism. We asked J.D. Wicker to come on today. He flatly refused. We sent a note to San Diego State asking for clarification on J.D. Wicker's comments. They have not replied to this email. This is a screen grab of the email. They've not replied to it. So I can't tell you what is fake about it. I can't tell you if the story is completely fabricated or not because J.D. Wicker isn't taking emails or phone calls to ask him those questions.
Yeah.
I find it hard to believe that somebody the ilk of Dennis Dodd would completely fabricate stories. I don't see that I don't even see that that's possible.
Yeah, and I think the behavior out of J.D. Wicker suggests that the story has some legs to it. I mean, if you're going to come out and say fake news and, say that it's a bunch of crap, but you don't want to talk about it in an interview, you don't want to take questions about it, what does that say? That says that you want to hate on it, but, it's got legs.
I don't know, and I'll just go back and point to the University of Utah. What we saw to Mark Harlan and Taylor Randall yesterday, pure class.
Yeah.
The way they speak, the way they operate, pure class. You look at Adela De La Torre and you look at J.D. Wicker, questions abound. Questions abound.
Yeah.
Questions
Not a good look.
abound. Pretty amazing. Let's see. Tom Dean gives us $2 to say, Monty, how many years before top schools leave the ACC? We'll see. I don't know the answer to that. That's a really good question. I think when you look at the expansion that we're talking about here, and if they truly are after, SMU, Stanford, and Cal, if that's where they wind up going, that's a really interesting grouping of schools. Does that keep Florida State interested? Does that keep Clemson interested? I don't know. Clemson's not the one saying that they got to get out. That's Florida State.
In God's name, image, and likeness.
I think that's really interesting.
Yep.
Gyrotax says, what's the buyout for Big 12 teams? Is that an option for the ACC? It's not. Their grant of rights are almost identical because the ACC used Bob Bowlesby's grant of rights as a template.
Yeah.
The former commissioner of the Big 12. So it is significant. I don't know off the top of my head, but I'll try to find out. Welcome our newest member, Doom. Doom is a member.
Yeah, Doom. Everything sucks and the world's ending.
Thank you, Doom. The iPlaylist. Also, Montees, is UConn to the Big 12 still possible? Want to see Paige Buchers live if she sticks around? I don't think it was ever a thing.
Nah.
I think they spoke, but I don't see one. UConn's not going to join anything as a basketball only.
Yeah.
They've said that. I don't see the Big 12 subsidizing UConn football, which would be a losing proposition. That's a net loss.
Yeah.
So I just don't think UConn's a good fit for the Big 12. I know that everybody says I'm an idiot when I say that, but I think that's why you didn't see him in this round of expansion.
Yeah.
Tom Osborne for $5. San Diego State giving me secondhand embarrassment. They need to crawl under a rock for the next 10 to 15 years and hope people forget this ever happened. I just would stop. If I were San Diego State, listen, I would forget Twitter exists. I would forget social exists for my executives.
Yeah.
J.D. Wicker should not be on Twitter or X or whatever the hell we're calling it. He should not be on Twitter. He should not be Xing.
Yes.
Like this is a, and again, I don't even care if Dennis Dodd make it up? I don't know, and I don't think so. J.D. Wicker has no business tweeting this.
Yeah, and I just don't know why J.D. Wicker's paying mind to it. I mean, if you're gonna, if that's what I said, dude, it's okay. Let's take my opinion of Dennis Dodd's work out of it, just at a minimum. Like, just level with me at a minimum here. Should an athletic director really be going out on Twitter and giving his opinions on things? Don't you just do that by, again, local podcast or newspaper or something at San Diego State, an outlet of some variety? Give your university the run, not your X account, dude.
Ooh. Greg Sankey on the Feinbaum show was asked about his relationship with former Big Ten commissioner Kevin Warren.
Why we have Feinbaum.
Feinbaum said, what was your relationship with former Big Ten commissioner Kevin Warren? Quote, we saw the world differently. Sankey said, end quote. I guess, to put it mildly, why is Greg Sankey the guy who doesn't want change in college athletics?
Because why would he want anything to change? He's in the SEC. They're dominating.
I mean, listen, I understand that. I get it. But at some point, you have to know, and this is part of the thing I've never really understood, and maybe you can apply this to your life. Good old Uncle Monty's got some advice for you.
Hey, Monty.
Change is happening. You may not see it. You may not recognize it right in front of you. But if you're a college administrator, a conference commissioner, whoever, certainly you understand change is happening every single day.
That's the untrained eye.
Right? Like, I mean, if you can't see it, that's a you problem. But Greg Sankey has to understand. You're the commissioner of the SEC. You're really telling me that you don't understand that change is a part of the gig?
We're in a control position.
Right? Like, that doesn't feel, I don't know, normal is the word I want to say, but
he's just playing the game, dude. He's just playing the game.
I guess.
Greg Sankey knows how to build a productive football conference. And I think, if I'm the SEC, I'm not going to sit here and make a bunch of gray area comments. I agree with his statements and how definitive he's been. I think that, the SEC is the conference in college football. Sorry, Ohio State fan. Sorry, khaki Jim Harbaugh Michigan fan. The Big Ten is not the conference in college football. The SEC is, right? The SEC's got the championships. The SEC has all the premier brands pretty much. So for my money, if I'm Greg Sankey, I'm sitting here and being like, yeah, I'm going to go on Feinbaum show because Feinbaum is the SEC show. We all know that. So that's why he's not going on some podcast out west or out east. He's going on Feinbaum. And he's going to flex and he's going to say, hey, yeah, we don't see anybody that we're interested in an expansion. Mainly because they don't need to expand. Mainly because they're in the college football playoff championship game every single year. Mainly because they got a great relationship with ESPN, right? Mainly because they're in an incredibly strong position. I wouldn't want to change anything either. Now, that doesn't skip over the fact that change is happening. Realignment's happening. And I think Greg understands that. But ultimately, Greg is uniquely positioned here to wait for the ACC grant of rights to expire.
Yep.
Add ACC schools and compete with the Big Ten in a duo super conference setup 10 years from now. We all know that's coming. And I love Brett Yormark. I love my boy Mike Gundy. I love the Big 12. But you are not going to survive if these two conferences are bringing in $100 million per school. That's not going to work for you.
Well, Gus, I mean, I don't even know how to say this. And you guys that listen to this show, you know that I'm going to light the world on fire right now.
Well, that's the issue, isn't it?
So you know that Greg Sankey, the commissioner of the SEC, went on Paul Feinbaum.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, Dennis Dodd, who lit the world on fire today already, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised. We have another pro rata sighting.
Oh, boy.
Dennis Dodd. Greg Sankey said without saying it just now, any SEC expansion candidate has to bring pro rata. That was clearly a message to FSU, which is what I've been saying for a week now, doesn't bring an equal proportionate revenue share from a network. Because they don't bring viewership. They don't bring championship.
Okay, fuck you.
You put and again, I get it. I'm the asshole. Tell me again that FSU could win the SEC in a decade. If you put them in the SEC today, would FSU win an SEC football championship inside of 10 years?
Hell no.
No, I don't think they would.
Roll Tide!
Unless they got bucked up, I don't think they would. It is that time of the show. Bucked Up Energy, the official energy provider of the Monty program.
Here's to program 1000 and stuff.
We've got the Foo Fighters concert tonight. So I'm going to hit my buckshot so that I am ready to rock and roll and slam dance. And I don't slam dance, but I'm going to hit this now.
I think I've hit it every time.
I think I have hit it. Wow. That's a Mike Gundy drop now. I think I have hit it every time. Bucked Up Energy, you guys. Buckedup.com. Use the promo code Monty to get 20% off your purchase of $20 or more at buckedup.com. And the buckshots are phenomenal, you guys. 6 free buckshots. Description in the link below. Hook it up. Tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. And what buckshots do. So they give you 200 milligrams of caffeine, but they give you clean, long-lasting energy to get you through the second half of your day, to power you through the Foo Fighters concert. Maybe you're going to play golf. Maybe you're going to play softball. Maybe you just got to go home and be mentally awake and aware for your family after a long day at work. Hook it up. Hit a buckshot. That's what I love about Bucked Up Energy, you guys. They do what they say they're going to do. They have the best proteins. They use whey protein isolate in their new Buck Bar. I hate protein bars. We've talked about this on the show ad nauseum. I hate them. This is the only protein bar that I eat, and I eat it because it's decadent, man. Like that's the
Yes.
I can eat it during golf to power me through. I can eat it after a workout. I can eat it as a meal replacement even because I know it's got whey protein isolate as its number one ingredient. That's how you know it's a quality product. Oh, by the way, it says bucked up on it. It's a quality product. You hear bucked up, you think the best ingredients from the best people. Buckedup.com. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. Let's read more of your comments. You guys are amazing. It's Fair, who's been a member for 5 months. Let's
Damn,
go.
Man. We got all kinds of anniversaries.
Someone define a weak P5 versus a strong G5 school. Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
Who's your best G5 school? If you had to name one right now, maybe San Diego State is that
Yeah,
one.
I would agree.
But who is the one? I mean, I would probably San Diego State's a fine example.
Yeah.
Would you rather have San Diego State or Vanderbilt? Boise State or Vanderbilt? I probably would rather have Boise State or San Diego State. But what's the difference? Boise State and San Diego State are in a G5 conference, and Vandy's in the SEC.
Yeah.
They're in the ACC. They're in the Big Ten. They're in the Big 12. Like, because you have a Vanderbilt in every conference, right?
Yep.
And the difference is they're making the money that San Diego State is not. And I think a lot of it is good old boy network. Because is Indiana really a Power 5 program? Basketball, sure they are. Right? But I think I can make the argument Iowa isn't.
Because it's garbage.
I think I can make the argument. I mean, is Maryland, is Rutgers? Come on now. Right? I mean, every conference has them. Every conference. Yeah. There you go. Rutgers. Absolutely.
Cal.
You know, like Rutgers paying off Big Ten, paying off big for the Big Ten. Yeah, apparently. Seth says UTSA. Absolutely. Sleeping juggernaut, baby. No doubt about it. Boston College. Boston. Well, the first word is all you need to know. Boston.
Best.
Tom Dean says Mississippi State. What? Come on now. What do you mean? Power 5 collusion, as I like to call it. You're not wrong, Salamini.
Yeah, spot on.
Salamini. You're not wrong. Dabo Sweeney's 805 winning percentage. UConn is never getting in the ACC. Probably not.
It's a passionate take there, bro.
Because nobody likes UConn. They're a good basketball program, but who?
You know.
Really? Come on.
Yeah.
Cypher for $5. Dennis Dodd greater than Pete Thamel. Yeah, Pete came out looking like a donkey last week. Pete had a tough week last week. He did. Am I wrong?
A donkey.
He did. He came out looking like a donkey.
Like, come on now.
Yeah.
Damn.
Matt Riley for $2. FSU just learned that the SEC doesn't want them. But is FSU really valuable?
Nick Saban is a better man than you are.
You're not Alabama.
Well, nobody's Alabama.
You're not Ole Miss. Georgia's Alabama. You're not Ole Miss. You're not LSU. Right? Hell, you're not Florida. Come on.
But listen, Florida State has they have a lot of, what do they got? 3 national championships. I mean, you're looking at a situation where, this program has history and tradition. The problem is you haven't been relevant in the ACC for.
I think this balance of what have you done versus what have you done for me lately is super in our face right now with realignment. I mean, again, big arguments over Stanford last week. Right?
Big argument.
Like, these programs that haven't done a damn thing for anybody in like a decade, and then we want to roll out here and be like, oh, but, top athletic department in the country, and they're the best, and they should be in a P. Like, no, dude. The margins are too slim now. You have to be productive. I don't care what you did in the 80s. I don't care what you did in the 2000s. It doesn't matter, dude. Right? Like, nobody cares. Like let's say Florida was trying to get into the Big Ten as an example. Not that they are, but let's just say they were. Dude, Tim Tebow's success at Florida, it has nothing to do with whether Florida is a good fit for the Big Ten right now,
but
dude.
Listen, Florida State, the problem is you hired a guy like Willie Taggart.
Yeah, another problem.
He's not a Division I guy. You replace him with Mike Norvell. Who's excited about Florida State football? I just look at Jimbo's tenure. You have not been anything since Jimbo left.
Yeah.
You had all that stability from 76 to 2017 with Bobby Bowden and Jimbo Fisher, and you have been a disaster since.
Yep.
Does Mike Norvell? Well, but does Mike Norvell, is that a guy that you're like, God damn, boy, that's Mike Norvell? No.
I'm a man.
It's not. Right? Like you are 3-6, 5-7, and 10-3 last year, but 5-3 in the conference. And you went to the Cheez-It Bowl. Are you really excited about? I mean, listen, if they win the Atlantic this year, okay, I mean, we can have a conversation about it, I guess. But is Florida State somebody that the SEC's like, God damn, boy,
No.
we need Florida State?
No.
No. I don't know why I use that accent everywhere.
Hug them.
But they're not. They're not. Brass Bulls. I know who I am and where I am. I'm a lazy dude napping to the dulcet tones of Monty and Jake ripping a new one to fake news advocates. You ain't wrong, man. Domer Wop.
Hey, Domer. Nice of you to show up today, dude.
Feinbaum was put in a high school locker inferiority complex.
Why we have Feinbaum.
I can take a day or two of Feinbaum.
Yeah, it's just
spread out by
very
like
dry.
6 months.
Dude, it's very dry.
It's
is. Very...
Yeah. Tom Osborne for $2. I'm bringing my own pro rata, and it's Louis.
Yeah, dude.
You know. Kyle A., what's up, Kyle A.? Appreciate you. Are you planning on going to media days next year? Yes, of course. Every year.
Pardon me.
What
how
does that
long?
drop mean? Why do you play that drop right there, man?
Why are you calling me out on drops now, dude?
Okay, go ahead.
You gonna let me explain the drop or no?
No.
Am I gonna get 2 weeks notice like the Pac-12 gave us this year?
No. Well, no. The Pac-12's dead. The Big
I'm
12
aware. I'm aware.
The Big
That's my
12
point.
actually is professional, and they give you like 6 weeks notice.
Douchebags.
We know where it's going to be, and we pretty much know the week it's going to be, so we can sell it and plan it and execute it. Hello. Matt Ritson, did Stanford turn down the Big 12, and why? They did not turn down the Big 12. They were not invited to the Big 12 as far as I know. So I could be wrong about that, but I mean, we've had this conversation 10 times this week. Stanford's not a fit in the Big 12, and I don't think Stanford would join the Big 12. It just is simply not who they are. And if that's not being snobby, I think that's just a fact. Does Stanford feel like a seamless fit in the Big 12?
No.
It doesn't. Do they feel like a fit in the ACC? Well, more based on the institutions that are there. When you have the institutions like Duke, yeah, I think you are a fit there. The problem with Stanford is you just can't get athletes into the frickin' school. You can't get them in there to play football. You can't get them in there to play basketball. You know how difficult it is to get admitted to Stanford. Like Colorado was the same way until Colorado lowered their standards this year. You think Stanford's doing that? Hell no. They're not doing that. Gop gives us $5. The only thing better than a calzone from Papa Murphy's would be winning those Texas Baylor tickets. Hook them.
Hey, it's pretty easy, dude. Like
It
all
is.
you got to do is sign up for the 30-day $10 trial, man.
All you got to do, so we're giving away a pair of tickets, you guys, to see Texas and Baylor. This was one of the most asked for games on the show. So you guys may know, if you're new to the show, hit the like button. We are over 10,000 views on the show today, and we only have 506 likes. Come on, you guys, we got to pump those numbers up.
Yeah, come on.
Those are Jakey Two Holes numbers.
Right,
Let's go.
Right.
We try to get 1,000 likes in 3 hours, so please hit the like button if you've not. But we are giving away tickets every week for the month of August. And this week it's Texas and Baylor. And we really want to hook it up. It's a game you guys asked for. Friday, at 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern on this here showroom. We are going to announce the winner, and all you have to do to qualify is go to trydaytrading.com/Monty, sign up for their 30-day $10 trial. All you have to do is give a $10 charitable donation to trydaytrading.com. It's a tax write-off for you. Then they give you a 30-day membership for free. You get all their coaching, all their software, all their analytics, teach you the process. Nobody that we have seen enter that trial has stopped at 30 days. But if you don't want to continue with it, great, don't continue with it. You have no obligation. But you realize at Tri-Day Trading, their full-time traders make $1,000 a day. And what happens is you go through their program, you graduate, you open your own business, they fund a trading account for you. You make your first trades with Tri-Day Trading's money, and you keep 80% of the profits for $10. And by the way, if I said you want Baylor, Texas tickets for $10, what would you say? Yeah, yes.
Yes.
Hook it up. TryDayTrading.com. Take a screen grab that you're in the program. Tag us on Twitter or Instagram, The Monty Show, MONTY, The Monty Show. You're entered to win.
Program.
It's that simple, Gop. Let's go, my man.
Do it.
Hook it up. The tickets next week are going to be pretty sweet as well.
They're going to be lit and stuff.
You know. It's going to be, it is. Next week's game's pretty good. Yeah. I think you guys be excited. By the way, in the comments section, what game do you want us to give tickets to? What is there? Who's your team? And we haven't done this in a while. Maybe we lighten the mood a little bit. In the comments section, who's your team? Who's your team? I'm a Notre Dame fan, and sometimes I'm proud. Not much. Well, occasionally.
Right.
Renee Roca says Oregon, Texas Tech, much better game. Several people have asked us for that. Yes. Construction Works says Houston, Texas. Okay. UTSA versus Tennessee.
Tennessee.
Okay. GTI Brandon says BYU versus Utah. Let's get it on the schedule first. Cypher, dominating for Natties, yes, but falling further behind in everything else. Markets, money, and academics and research. Okay. You mean the SEC, I'm assuming. Salamini. Can we use the San Diego State method of trading? Make a guess on what stock is going to win, not pay attention to anything else and go all in, then sell when you realize that company is going belly up.
Bro. Dude, you're not wrong.
That's awesome, Salamini. Force Ghost Fabio says San Diego State. Kevin Chittenden says OU. Man, I'm pissed about Bedlam. Did you guys hear what Gundy said today? It really wasn't today. It was the other day, actually.
Yeah.
Did you guys see what Gundy said about the transfer portal? What do you guys? Where do you guys come down on Mike Gundy? Are you a Mike Gundy fan? Like, I'm a huge Gundy guy. But listen to what he says here about the portal.
Whether we like it or not, we live in the age of the portal. And in this time, we need to make sure as coaches, more so than ever, that we give everybody quality time to work it out position-wise. Almost caught him. Position-wise based on their work on the field. When we name a depth chart, I want to be able to look them all in the eye and say everybody had a fair shot. And I think that's all we can do as coaches for the players, and then I think the players will respect that more so than we have in years past.
Do you think that's how you get kids to stay at Oklahoma State?
I do.
You do?
Yeah. Well, because I think, dude, the portal, his point there is the portal is a facilitator to quit. That's the portal is. The portal is, hey, Mike Gundy didn't give me a chance to make, the starting 11 at safety. I'm going to hit the portal and go somewhere else a little easier, right? Like that we've seen that 100 different ways in college football. So Gundy's basically saying, hey, dude, we got to make sure the kid feels valued now and feels like, yeah, I did give 110% on the field, and unfortunately, Buddy over here beat me. But that doesn't mean that I'm not going to stay in the program. I'm going to stay here, and I'm going to work my way through it because I have a good relationship with my head coach. That's what Gundy's saying. But the reality is there's nothing that's going to stop a kid from hitting the portal if they want to.
That's what I'm saying.
But I think that he makes a good point. I think that Mike Gundy makes a good point when he says, hey, if we show the kids respect and we show them, hey, we're going to give you every opportunity to get as high up the depth chart as you can. And if that means you're in the starting 11, great. If that means you're number 2 or number 3 or whatever winds up being, great. But you're not going to say that we shortchanged you or that we didn't give you the proper chance.
Let's hear a little bit more from Coach Gundy on Fox and ESPN, because one of the questions that I think we have to ask today, did you guys hear that ESPN is opening branded casinos, essentially, sports books? And really, it's just them giving their name to branded sports books. While you listen to Gundy talk about Fox and ESPN, why do people hate ESPN?
I mean, I'm almost like Nostradamus. I've been telling you guys for 18 months what's going to happen. And I think I've hit it every time. I'm glad you brought it up. 2 things. I said Oklahoma State would be in great shape no matter what, which has happened. And I said eventually the Big 12 Conference will rise and be just fine, which has happened. And I said that conference realignment is not finished yet, and it's not finished now. It's still going to go on. So we're thrilled to have Colorado. And, I actually need to reach out to Coach Sanders and welcome him to the league. I haven't done that yet. I think that the addition of Coach there has generated a lot of excitement, and I think that has an advantage for this league from a marketability across the country. And that's what this comes down to, right? We're trying to market so you can get sales, so you can get ESPN and Fox to pay you money to play on TV.
I feel like he's vilifying. I don't know. Am I reading too much into that? I feel like he's vilifying Fox and ESPN there.
Well, I think the reality is everyone is. And the reality is they're not wrong, right? Like Fox and ESPN are doing what they need to do. If you want to vilify them, great. I don't think we need to vilify them. I just think we need to accept that that's the reality of college football until you come up with a better solution to the grant of rights setup. Because until you have a better solution to grant of rights, there's not going to be another position for ESPN and Fox to be in. They have to do it the way they're doing it.
I don't know, man. I think there's nothing wrong with ESPN doing ESPN. They're in the money-making business. Oklahoma State's in the money-making business. And I love Gundy, and we've talked about this at length, especially with the stuff he's said about Bedlam. Bedlam's good for college football. He's the only guy. Mike Gundy is the only guy that doesn't want Bedlam. I think he vilifies Fox and ESPN for college football expansion, and I just don't think that's where it is. If you're Fox and ESPN and you can build the best football television programming, why would you say no to it?
Mm-hmm.
Why? And if you're Oklahoma State and you got an invite to the SEC, are you telling me you're saying no, Mullet Man? You're not saying no. There's no chance you're saying no. You're saying yes. It gives you more money, which gives you more opportunity. You can play in bigger, better games. You can recruit better. You can coach better. You can play better. Everybody wants that. That's not ESPN's fault. You should be thanking ESPN, not vilifying them. And I feel like it's so easy now to say, well, it's ESPN and Fox's fault. And they're the villains here. We're doing this for TV money. You're goddamn right we're doing it for TV money. That's exactly what this is, a banking business. You can't run a major college football conference without a major conference TV contract. Ask the Pac-12.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
Yep.
Why? And again, why does Florida State want into the SEC? The same reason Mike Gundy had taken invite to the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
The same reason. More money, better games, better players.
So get your facts straight.
It shouldn't be sinful. It shouldn't be, oh, there's something dirty about that. Oh, ESPN's on the phone. I better go take a bath after I'm done with that call. Like, I don't understand this mentality.
Yeah.
Blame the networks. I don't know. Am I making too much of that?
I don't think you're making too much of it. I just think that it's a perspective conversation. I don't think that ESPN and Fox are at fault. I just think they're doing what their business dictates, right? They're doing what they need to do to be as profitable as possible. And through that process, college football took a hit and lost a conference. That's the reality of the situation. The expectation shouldn't be that ESPN's going to do bad business to keep the Pac-12 afloat.
Well,
right? And I think that the ESPN Fox Death Star take is a spin-off of who's really at fault, which is the portal and NIL.
Yes.
The portal combined with NIL has created a situation where kids are just going to go to the highest bidder. And I hate saying that, but that's what it is right now, which is why you're seeing all this legislation and you're seeing the efforts being put in by senators to create bills that ultimately are going to control college football much more stiffly, much more rigidly with NIL. So to me, NIL and the transfer portal are the real troublemakers here because, again, kids can go where they want to go, which is why I agree with what Mike was saying. Ultimately, if a kid has a great relationship with you, you can at least feel good about them leaving because at that point, you've done everything you can do.
That's right.
You're saying, hey, dude, I love you. I want you to do the best that you can possibly do. And if second on the depth chart is the best you can do, then if you want to leave, that's on you. But I've done everything I can do. And his point there is that, hey, as coaches, we really got to work our ass off to make sure that everyone gets a fair shot. And what's not in the clip is he was talking about how his philosophy with coaching in at the beginning of fall camp is the first 10 to 12 practices, we're going to minimize concepts and we're going to rotate people through groups so everyone feels like they have a shot. And I think it's brilliant. I think it's absolutely brilliant because what is he essentially measuring you on at that point? If we're not going to have concepts and we're just playing street ball out there, you're evaluating talent. Show me that you can run by the DB. Show me.
You want to see something wild? Look at this Ross Dellinger tweet. Ross Dellinger, for a year, SMU held various degrees of dialogue with several leagues in pursuit to join a power conference, including the Big 12, Pac-12, and ACC. Mustangs are open to foregoing several years of distribution to enter the ACC.
Oh, what are you talking about, man?
Are you serious right now? You are telling me, man, every time I think I've seen all the stupid shit in expansion that we're ever going to see, and I'm serious, like every time I think there's no way somebody can be this dumb. Somebody's like, wait a minute, hold my beer. Let's forego several years of distribution to get into the ACC.
Well, okay, so on its face, it sounds really stupid. And I think it is stupid. But if you're SMU, you know you're never getting into a Power 5.
You're going to give up $80 to $100 million?
Yeah, because what have we heard about SMU? I'm not disagreeing with you, but what have we heard? It kind of like from SMU's dumbass perspective, it kind of makes sense. Hey, we're oil money and we got all this money, right? Because that's the thing with SMU. Oh, we got all this money. We got the oil money and we got all this funding behind us. We're good. Okay, so if that's the case, you have to be willing to be of value to a Power 5 by saying we will sacrifice X, Y, and Z to be a member of your conference. So we want to enter your conference and make it so that you don't have to go to a TV partner and say, hey, look, man, we're trying to add SMU. What are you willing to pay? No, hey, the conversation is we're going to add SMU, and you don't need to pay them or you don't need to give us a distribution payment for 2030, until 2030. That's what SMU's value is.
I don't get it. I'm trying. You guys, I'm trying. I don't understand. I don't get it at all.
What is SMU saying? I really think this is simple. SMU is saying, hey, we get it. We're not a P5 team. We understand that. But we understand to survive athletically, we got to get into a P5. And because you're not on TV doesn't mean that you can't make money on your football product.
Bro, this has to be one of the most desperate things that I have ever seen. I don't even know how I don't. You got SMU is willing to forego several years. Hi, motherfucker! Like, how San Diego State of you? Like, are you serious with? Why? So you agree it's thirsty?
Yes, I agree. I agree completely that it's silly by basically any measure.
My God.
But I really want you guys to consider this. If you're SMU, a school on that level, this logic doesn't apply to a P5. It doesn't apply to anyone who's already in the system. But if you're a low-level school that legitimately has no chance of being accepted into a P5 in standard procedure, right? Hey, we're evaluating you. Okay, we're going to add you to our grant of rights. If you don't have any chance at that, okay, you have to get creative if you want to try and get into one of these conferences. So notice what SMU hasn't done. SMU hasn't written a letter. SMU hasn't tried to lead a coup. SMU hasn't done anything outlandish like somebody in Southern California.
Other than the whole death penalty with the many years ago. My point is, does this make you more or less attractive? I would guess this makes you less attractive. I understand it from that person. I think you're right. If SMU doesn't get in now, if not now, then when? And maybe never. Because you're getting left behind at some point. Because there's going to come a point where realignment is only going to involve major P5 teams.
Yeah.
It's switching around. I think we're already at a point where regionality is going to have to come into scheduling, and conferences that are going to have 20 teams are going to have the Western Conference with 2 divisions. Like, you're going to have to figure out, hey, man, like, I don't know how you don't. Pat McAfee was talking today about how the NFL schedule and conference standings setup is what college football is going to have to go to.
Yeah.
I think it makes perfect sense because I don't know how you realign. Like, what is attractive about SMU? And I want to have a real conversation about this, my Texas fans. I want to have a real conversation, my Florida fans. Like, you guys, does SMU excite any of us? I'm a Notre Dame fan. I don't want to play fucking SMU.
I don't think it's about
care.
that. I don't think it's about that. I don't think it's about, again, SMU's trying to do an unconventional deal. SMU's not playing on, hey, do we have national notoriety? They're not. That's not the conversation SMU's having. The conversation SMU is trying to have with the ACC is, hey, man, we've got multiple billionaires that have given us an endowment in athletics that allows us to really not care about a distribution deal. We quite literally have so much money sitting here, much like Stanford, right? Same thing with Stanford. Hey, we have so much money sitting here that we don't really have to care about carriage and distribution. And so what we understand, and I'm guessing this is why they're playing the angle this way, they understand that college football is slowly but surely heading to 2-team super conference setup. That's where we're going, unfortunately. And so teams like schools like SMU have to do what they have to do to get in now. Because think about it this way. When the ACC grant of rights is up in 2036, if SMU were to get in this year or maybe next year, let's say, 10 years from now, nobody's going to give a damn that you sacrificed 5 years of carriage. If you got 5 more years and a bunch of reliability out of the next grant of rights, nobody's going to care.
Yeah. Construction Work says SMU is desperate, bro.
Okay, I agree with that. I agree with that.
You are not wrong, man. Like, I agree 100%. SMU is desperate.
But desperate times call for desperate measures. SMU, I have no problem saying it. Hey, San Diego State fan, you are better than SMU. The problem is you're not willing to do, apparently, what SMU is willing to do.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I would agree with that. This is such a wild story. So, again, just so everybody's on the same page with us, you're looking at a situation where Ross Dellinger says that SMU are open to foregoing several years of distribution to enter a P5 conference. I can't even believe that I'm saying that out loud.
Yeah.
I cannot even believe that I'm saying that out loud. To get into the ACC, the SMU Mustangs are willing to forego several years of distribution.
Facts.
Hey, man, that booster money's wild.
Yeah.
That booster money is absolutely out there wildin'. Let's hope it'll buy you some Papa Murphy's calzones.
At Papa Murphy's, we do more than just pizza. We do calzones.
Papa Murphy's does calzones?
Oh, I think you mean I do the calzones.
And how do you do it, Dad?
How do I do it? How do I do it? Oh.
Well, we do it with fresh ingredients and hand-shredded cheese tucked in a scratch-made dough.
That's how, honey.
At Papa Murphy's, we make great pizza.
Hey, don't forget the calzones.
Order now at papamurphys.com.
Papa Murphy's Pizza. The official pizza of the Monty Show.
Yeah.
Do you guys like when I sing? Like, I think it's pretty good when I sing for you guys. Like, it's pretty damn impressive.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is pretty damn like my singing credential. Anyway,
yeah.
Papa Murphy's Pizza, the official pizza of the Monty Show. Make sure that you guys use the promo code Monty25 to get 25% off your purchase of $25 or more at Papa Murphy's Pizza. The Monty Show is presented by our good friends at The Advocates. TheAdvocates.com. The best injury attorneys in the business. You guys know I tell you this every single day. The Advocates, they are fantastic. And really the thing you know about the Advocates is they're going to help you no matter what, because you don't ever reach into your pocket to pay the Advocates. You only pay the Advocates when they get you that positive outcome. When you win your case, that's when you pay the Advocates. So you've been in a wreck. Let's say you got hurt at work today, because a lot of people ask me about workman's comp with the Advocates. If you got hurt at work today and I know your boss came to you and said, oh, you're going to be okay. We're going to take care of you. We've got this insurance. You're going to get paid. Okay, that's all well and good, and I'm not saying they're not. But what happens when they don't? Mm-hmm. So why wouldn't you meet with the Advocates for free? It costs you nothing, no obligation. You have nothing to lose to meet with some of the best injury attorneys in the business at theadvocates.com. Why wouldn't you do that? Theadvocates.com. Chat with an attorney live online for free. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on The Monty Show. A wild day. A wild day in college football expansion. I don't even know how you put a number on what's going on with this story at SMU. And I don't know, again, maybe, listen, I'm open to the idea that I'm crazy. I don't know. You guys tell me. But I look at this situation with SMU and I just don't understand how on earth we got to a place where you're looking at SMU and they are years of fees and structure and revenue just to get entry into the ACC.
It's wild.
It's absolutely wild.
And I think once again we're in a place where we're in uncharted water here, because schools are being forced to do things that we would have never seen 10 years ago. You never would have seen a school be like, yeah, we're willing to do this and do that, and we got this money, and unfortunately, I do think again, endowment money is starting to become a more regular piece of the conversation, because again, grant of rights agreements are archaic. They are cavemanish. They are not. Nobody else in modern business does grant of rights. That's not how it works. But again, it comes back to this issue of the NCAA is a sporting body that is old and not innovative. And there is no other way to say it than the top dogs carry the entire company.
That's right.
It's like a sales company. The top 1% do all the business, and the other 99% are just out here, just being average. And I think that's unfortunately where the NCAA is at, and we're pushing to a point where the top dogs have the leverage, and they're saying, hey, we're unwilling to share this revenue now.
Yeah, dude, it's crazy. Dabo's 805 winning percentage. Boise State has all that potato mafia money, though. Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Aaron Wilson says, whittle, wild, wold, we load. It's crazy. It is absolutely wild. Mike Smith says Dallas market would rather watch out of state teams like OU and Oklahoma State over SMU, which is totally true.
And I think SMU is embracing that. SMU is saying, hey, our value is not relevance in the state, right? Our value is not Dallas. Our value is not, typical, institution value. Our value is, hey, We literally have billions upon billions of dollars sitting behind our institution, so we can come in as a member. We're not going to be a problem. We're not going to ask you to put us on distribution right away, and we'll help you schedule. Yeah, sure. We auto wins for teams like Clemson and all these different top end programs. Yeah, you are. We are. We're going to lose all those games. But the point is that we're moving to 10 conference game schedules. That's coming. And I think SMU is saying, hey, we'll bring flexibility, and we'll be one of those 10 games for you, and you can pretty much guarantee that we will lose those games because we're not good enough.
Glenn says, it's the boosters. I have a firsthand relevant story I could tell you, but have character limits posting here.
Yeah.
Exactly. Jamie Thornton says, with the ACC, add Tulane or go with SMU. Tulane, SMU, Cal, and Stanford to the ACC. That kind of makes some sense. Not all on the West Coast, but expanded footprint to New Orleans, Dallas, and California. I don't understand why Tulane gets so little love.
Yeah.
I really don't understand it. Ted Adams says, if SMU were worth their salt athletically, the Big 12 would have added them instead of Houston. Didn't happen, so case is closed. Well, Houston, though, gives you a massive metropolitan market that was untapped in really any P5 conference. So Houston was always getting into the Big 12, but you would have had a case to add SMU to any other P5 conference at some point. But nobody has. Nobody has. And Tulane, I think, is the great victim. Like Jamie said, I think Tulane is one of the great candidates that nobody talks about.
Yes.
Nobody talks about it at all. And I don't truly understand why. Northeast Ohio, bless the state fan. It doesn't matter what SMU brings. They're in a top 10 TV market, period. Here's the problem. They're not. They're not. And this is the conversation we have repeatedly about SMU.
Day.
Does SMU deliver the Dallas TV market? And my answer is no. And Dallas is our number 2 viewership market on this show. I think we might have 5 SMU fans total that watch this show. And Dallas is our number 2 market.
Yeah.
And SMU fans, stand up. Stand up. Let's hear from you.
Hug them.
Right? But no, because we don't have a lot of SMU fans because there aren't a lot of SMU fans.
Yeah.
Right? That's my point. Jeff Seal, SMU, we got a presidential library and 70 milli. What have you got? Exactly.
Seriously.
Exactly. Construction Work says dirty laundry exposed today all over the country.
Seriously.
All over the country. I still think this situation in San Diego with J.D. Wicker, who, by the way, still has not replied to an email for comment, took him 35 seconds to say, no, I'm not coming on your show today. Well, here, let me reply and ask you for a comment. No, not going to reply to that.
Yeah.
Like the story at San Diego is wild. That they, according to Dennis Dodd at CBS, tried to lead a revolt where the biggest schools in the Mountain West, the 4 remaining schools in the Pac-12, and a couple of schools from the American would have formed the newest P5 conference. Now, Dennis Dodd's story essentially says San Diego State President Adela De La Torre was leading a push to assemble what would have amounted to a breakaway of at least schools from the Mountain West and American Conference, along with some combination of. Well, apparently J.D. Wicker didn't like that story because J.D. Wicker, the athletic director at San Diego State, tweeted fake news, disappointed in the number of absolute fake stories, articles that get written these days, hashtag integrity in journalism. So this was a lie then, JD. Because that's what you're saying, that this is altogether a lie. Or maybe it's not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it could be not. I don't know.
Yeah.
But hey, it is what it is, I guess.
Yeah.
Because guess what? J.D. Wicker doesn't want to talk about it.
Nope.
And so I look at this SMU thing. I look at this Greg Sankey, all these Greg Sankey comments. I look at this SMU story. It's wild to me that you look at Pat Forty talking about, it was one of the worst weeks for college football last week, according to Greg Sankey. I agree. You look at Dennis Dodd, Greg Sankey just reiterated his frustration that no one on the NCAA council speaks up on issues at a recent meeting because only 7 of the council's 39 members are from a P5, which is wild. Greg Sankey on Feinbaum were very clear that there's not something out there that we should be reaching for in terms of conference expansion, to which Dennis Dodd said, yeah, FSU, we're talking to you. That the SEC is not, in fact, interested in Florida State, which, to my surprise, none at all.
Which puts Florida State in that same position as San Diego State, where you've done all this damage and now you have nowhere to go. Nice job, dude. Really nice job.
And it truly is a matter of the haves and the have-nots.
And I don't know why some member institutions just have this assumption that the place they want to go wants them. I mean, I don't know why, and like with San Diego State, I have to assume George and them talked and George said some things. I mean, I can't believe he didn't. But if you're San Diego State or Florida State, you're just assuming that these Power Fives want you, and that's not necessarily true. They don't have to do anything. That's the thing. They have the hammer, and you don't. So you have to show through actions that you're a valuable ad.
Yes.
Which is why I say, yes, the first time we read that Ross Dellinger tweet about SMU, it's got some shock value. There's some sticker shock there, right?
Yes.
Hey, SMU is willing to not be on TV or whatever for a number of years to get into a Power 5 conference, the ACC. But then when you dive into it, the comments saying, hey, they're desperate. You're damn right they're desperate because they're not getting into another Power 5. You're certainly not getting into the SEC. You're not getting into the Big Ten. And I think you're a borderline fit for the Big 12. I mean, geographically, obviously the Big 12 most closely aligns with you, but ultimately, the ACC is the one with the turmoil. They're the one where there's some opportunity. They're the one where it's like, okay, hey, we're SMU. We can go in here and have a conversation and not get, kicked out the back door. And that's why I think they're doing that.
Yep. Alex Crowe says Eric decided he wanted to go to SMU, and he did. End of story. Okay. Gop says SMU is a Texas treasure. You didn't get it because you aren't from Texas. Stop hating. Hook 'em. SMU is not a Texas treasure. We have spent hours. You're new to the show. Number one, hit subscribe. We really appreciate you being here. We appreciate everybody watching the show today. We've had over 15,000 views on the show today. Please hit the like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you are not subscribed today, we are trying to get to 25,000 subs before we get to kickoff. Right now, we are at 22,771.
Come on, baby. Get us to 23,
229 subs to go.
I want it.
Let's go. Hellbelly gifted 5 memberships.
Oh, let me pull it out here. Yeah, let's go, baby.
Thank you. And to be transparent and, take you behind the curtain, for some reason, we're having trouble getting comments to our distribution software.
Yeah, what are we, SMU?
Yeah, I apologize about that. But thank you, Hellabilly, who said, you think SMU made that offer to the Big 12? I don't think they did. I honestly, I don't think they did. But thank you for the $2. Rick Forrester says SMU band has 12 people on it. 12. See, Christopher Shannon, behind the scenes, Sankey is slithering and scheming.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, I don't even disagree with that.
Yeah.
I don't even disagree with that he is slithering and scheming. Seriously, I really don't. I think when you look at Greg Sankey, I think the biggest issue is that it really is one of those things where you just don't know. All this stuff from Greg Sankey today,
yeah,
he's a power broker. That there's just no doubt about that, right? Like, I mean, can we all agree?
Yes.
That Greg Sankey is a power broker.
Well, I think I think Greg Sankey is one of 4 and really one of 3 power brokers because I don't believe that the ACC right now is in any type of control or power situation. I think they're dealing with their conference and their own issues. I think The SEC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12 are the power brokers in college football, and Greg Sankey sits at the head of the table in those discussions, as he should. He's earned that. He's led his conference to prosperity, and he deserves credit for that.
Yeah, I just don't think. I agree with Roundabout says SMU is desperate. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing, and
but
obviously,
what would you have him do? Not do anything? What would you have him do?
You do what you got to do, regardless of what people think. If it gets you into a P5 conference, I guess it just doesn't matter, right?
I don't disagree. It's embarrassing. I don't disagree that the position that they're in is terrible. I don't disagree. But what would you have them do? I would rather them try and put themselves out there than not try at all and just sit here with nice little uniforms and not be, have any chance at growth. Because, again, the SMU level institution is getting left behind, and SMU sees that.
It is. I agree. And I don't know. Look, I'll be honest with you. I don't know how you fix it. I really don't know how you fix it. And I would love to tell you that somehow, some way it gets fixed, and I don't see it getting fixed.
Yeah.
I don't see it getting fixed.
Yeah.
I really don't. And I think when you look at the way that this conference is moving in the ACC, I don't know that it ever gets completely fixed. And Florida State, the comments by Sankey today, like you look at the way that Greg Sankey is saying things now. Like, I mean, like Pat Forty, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey on Feinbaum were very clear that there's not something out there that we should be reaching for in terms of conference expansion. Tell me he's not throwing shade at FSU right there.
Yes, he is.
And if you call Greg Sankey or at Florida State rather, but he's throwing shade at Florida State. But if you're SMU, you can't call Greg Sankey and say, we'll take 5 years of no draw. He's going to laugh at you. He's going to laugh at you. But the ACC now has become desperate somehow, some way. And I'm just telling you now, I don't believe that the ACC should expand.
Yeah.
Because I don't believe it helps them survive long term. Because I don't think Florida State gives a damn about getting into SMU or getting into Stanford and Cal. I would guess the people in Tallahassee look at Stanford and Cal as a bunch of weed smoking hippies who are liberals and we don't need their taxes.
Mm-hmm.
I would guess that's what it is. Florida State doesn't want anything to do with Stanford and Cal.
Yeah.
I don't buy that. And talking to people around college football, there's a lot of people who just think that Stanford and Cal are a rudderless ship as far as affiliation right now. A year from now, Stanford and Cal don't have home football games.
Yeah.
They really don't even have road football games at this point. I mean, it is what's gone on in the Pac-12. Again, I'm telling you, so many people celebrated the collapse of the Pac-12. That's a huge mistake. Because what happened last week in the Pac-12 is not good for college football.
Totally
It's
agree.
not good for college athletics. Because when Stanford and Cal have nowhere to go, you can't. Oregon State and Washington State are going to wind up in the Mountain West. I know for a fact, sources have told us that the Mountain West and the Pac-12 are having, merger talks, if the word is merger, with what's left. But come on.
Yeah.
Come on. And the other thing that I talk about a lot on this show, and I still don't understand it, is why do people hate ESPN? I need some help understanding that, because I don't understand how this is ESPN's fault.
Mm-hmm.
And if somebody wants to help me, or if somebody wants to enlighten me to this fact, I'm open to that idea. I mean, I don't fully understand why. And ESPN, and why is Florida State's plight? Why is that ESPN's problem? It's not. Why is ESPN picking up the SEC deal and adding the Big 12 contract? Why is that a bad thing that ESPN did? It's not. They offered, like the Pac-12 was offered the Big 12 deal and said no.
Yeah.
Why is that ESPN's fault? But I think everything at the end of the day is always ESPN's fault.
Well, and I think everyone wants to say, oh, well, if ESPN and Fox weren't pining for, all these huge TV deals and contracts and all this business and TV, we wouldn't have all this realignment issues. And that might be true, but that doesn't mean that they're wrong for doing good business inside of their business.
Laker fan says SMU has like 8,000 students. Yeah, they do. You're not wrong. Yeah, they do. Roundabout. We've already seen that SMU episode where power money take over their program. Lots of them still believe money will cure that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, at the end of the day, there are going to be some miserable Nebraska-like programs out there. Nebraska in the Big Ten, yeah, congratulations, you're irrelevant. And until Matt Rule proves you're not, hey, man.
But Nebraska doesn't have to care because they're getting paid.
Well, they do care, though. Why hire Matt Rule? Why put Trev Alberts in charge? Why talk about
they care, but I'm just saying, like, as far as SMU and these lower level schools, like, dude, like, if you're in a Power 5, like, if you're some low end school in the Big Ten, and you're getting paid, you don't have to care. That doesn't mean that schools like Nebraska don't care. Like, clearly Nebraska cares, as you just said. But there are some schools out there chilling at the bottom of a Power 5 conference, getting paid, and they're happy, they're good.
Dabo's 805 winning percentage says Florida State's act is worn thin. Very thin.
Yeah.
Like, I'm over it. I think a lot of people are over it. Conference Commissioner Gundy says Cal and Stanford would outsmoke Florida State easily. A much better product. Right? OG Gary, ACC, Pac-4 and the Mountain West merger, add some G5s in the middle of the country and call it good. I think you have to try, right? I think you have to try. Matt says Big 12 has their weed-smoking hippies now in Colorado. You ain't wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You're not wrong about weed in Colorado. Mike Smith, give me those Beavers, Oregon State Beavers. I think there's tremendous value in Oregon State. But the problem, Oregon State's got an image and brand problem. And I think that the Pac-12 network, again, you think the Pac-12 network did damage to Oregon. What did it do, or to Utah? What did it do to Oregon State?
Yeah.
And the only thing that overcame the lack of exposure for Utah was winning, making the Rose Bowl and the conference championship back-to-back years. And that's the only thing that overcame it. And Kyle Whittingham and winning and winning and winning. Oregon State hasn't done that. Now they're on the way to that, and unfortunately their timing couldn't have been worse because I think they're going to wind up in the Mountain West.
3 years behind, brother.
And Scott Barnes is well aware of what life in the Mountain West is like. Remember, he was at Utah State. So I love the dude. But he's going to wind up back in the Mountain West, and I hope they get to 10 million. I don't know. You guys, you want to talk about peril? I don't know what Washington State does. I don't know how Washington State continues to have athletics.
Yeah, dude.
I don't. Jim Choi, Sankey is doing ESPN's bidding. How?
Explain it.
How? Are you telling me that ESPN wouldn't want what is absolutely best for the SEC, who they just spent billions on? You're telling me they don't want what's best for the ACC, who they've spent billions on? Yeah, they do. I don't buy that. Vorlon Angel. Connor, where you been, buddy? Where's Connor at? We have a lot of comments today, so I appreciate that. Connor Johnson. ESPN pay the Big 12 for the Beavs. Yeah. I wish it was that easy.
The pro rata we deserve, baby.
Yeah. Yes. You know. Paxton says Stanford can go anywhere. Can they, though? Why haven't they?
Yeah. I don't know that I agree they can
I don't
go
know about
anywhere.
That. Provo Cougar fan. 1 year of SMU tuition, board fees, and books, $86,130. You ain't wrong. Bryce Martin, Texas, no gas, hit the emergency brake.
Yeah, dude. Yep.
Roundabout. I hope the Pac-4 grabs San Diego State, Wassa, Hawaii, and et cetera. They won't. I think
10.
It's over. Nobody, if you're a school, do you really want to be governed by George Kliavskog?
No,
I'm good.
Nope.
Do you guys really think the Pac-12 survives?
No.
I can't see a way they survive. There's no way they survive.
No way.
How? I don't know. Alexander Smitley for $2. Do you think Sankey started this with UT and OU? Yeah, I think he did. But I think this was inevitable.
Yeah.
Greg Sankey, the commissioner in the SEC, can be the villain? Sure. Is he the villain? Sure, probably. But wouldn't this have happened anyway? I mean, I don't think there's any doubt. Had it been the Pac-12 taking all those teams a year ago when they could have, probably should have, not probably, should have.
Definitely should have.
The Big 12, the SEC, like the Big 10, this was inevitable.
Yeah.
The weak always get eaten by the strong. Always. It's why there's a G5 designation, and once you're in the G5, it's like you have a scarlet letter on your chest, dude. You're dead.
Yeah, and I think that you have to be a killer. I mean, it's
Yeah.
weak, strong. Like I just think you got to be cold-blooded in today's marketplace in college football.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you. I mean, it's why, in my opinion, Super Chicks does so well, because the only chicken sandwich you need is Super Chicks, because it's the killer chicken sandwich. I mean, you get a full chicken breast every time you go to Super Chicks in Ogden on Riverdale Road, down in the GC. What's up to all of our listeners in St. George? How the heck are you? What's up in Ogden, O-Town? Hope you guys are well.
O-Town.
Go town. Go check out Super Chicks, the best chicken sandwich. Get that crispy chicken sandwich, you guys. A full breast, never frozen, always fresh. All their produce are chopped fresh in-house every day. Their fries are second to none, chopped fresh, in-house every day. All their custard shakes, oh my God, in-house fresh every day. That's what you know Super Chicks for. It's always fresh. It's always lovely. It always tastes the best. Go in and get a deluxe chicken sandwich. Now, I got to tell you, the cordon bleu is pretty good. The cordon bleu is pretty good. You can settle for
the
eighth.
The Bacavo's the best, dude.
You can settle for eighth and get a Bacavo.
Dude, don't hate on the Bacavo, dude.
I would get tenders before I would get a Bacavo.
Dude, the Bacavo is the Big Ten and the Deluxe is SMU.
Stop. That's a lie.
It is a lie. They're both actually really good.
The Deluxe is...
the Deluxe is, in my opinion, one of the most reliable chicken sandwiches you can get. Like,
yeah, it's
literally
Greg
every
Sankey.
single time.
It's Greg Sankey.
Yeah, dude. The Deluxe doesn't have to consider other expansion options, dude. It doesn't need to look at bacon.
The Bacavo is Jim Harbaugh's khakis.
Yeah, dude.
Okay. Super Chicks on Riverdale Road in Ogden. Super Chicks on Riverdale Road in Ogden, in St. George. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. Thank you guys for supporting the show. Today's show 1,000.
1,000.
1,000.
Mm-hmm.
We are at 22,775. You guys, we are 225 subscribers away from getting to 23,000.
I want it.
There's 1,000 people watching the show right now. You guys, if you have not hit subscribe, please consider it. Everybody here, please hit the like button.
Do it.
Absolutely hit the like button. That helps the channel grow. And a big shout out to JC.
Oh, let me pull it out for you. Yeah, JC.
JC, our newest member on the show. Thank you, JC. Really appreciate that. The show's growing exponentially. We love that. Thank you for becoming a member. Being a member on the show is $1.99. You can go all the way up to $9.99. That gets you into our members-only exclusive Instagram chat. Hook it up.
Hug him.
Hook him up. Phenomenal Hebrew says, I laugh at all the romancing of yesterday's college football. College football will always have 3 to 4 conferences. Do you guys buy into that? Do you buy into the fact that college football is coming down to 2-3 conferences?
Yes.
I think it is. And I don't know if the ACC goes away. I don't know what happens. But I think at some point, the mass expansion is going to happen, but I also think there will be a right sizing. In 10 to 15 years, I think you're going to see college football is going to come back slightly, and there's going to have to be a regional component to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you simply have too many kids trying to do too much stuff, and their academics are going to suffer. And to me, that's where the scandals are going to start coming back in. The NIL kids getting paid, that shit's going to be here. And I think you're always, wherever there's money, there's problems.
Yep.
Right? Wherever there's money, there's problems. But you get this select group of schools where you're going to have a teacher's aide taking tests for 10 football players.
Yeah.
You can't tell me that, A, we know that happens now, but B, you can't tell me that's not going to become a far more prolific problem. Because it is. I don't think there's any question it is.
Think that teacher's aide doesn't want to make a couple extra bucks?
Well, and all these kids are going to have NIL money, and it makes perfect sense to me that they will. So,
yeah,
it's a matter of time. Dabo's 805 winning percentage says Arizona has legal weed too.
Suh, dude.
Mike Smith says nothing hotter than an angry beaver. Beaver! I don't disagree. Connor Johnson says Beavs to the Big 12.
That's what I wanted, but I don't think that's happening, man. And it's a real
shame. Why would they do it now? Why would they do it now?
Yeah, they wouldn't.
I don't think they would do it now. Raider Mark says, I agree, Jim. Okay. Jamie says, notice what Sankey said. We don't need to be in 4 time zones. We're not going out looking for someone. He never said they're not taking FSU. But, dude, he straight up said there's nothing out there right now that we need to be reaching for.
Yeah.
Jamie, you don't think he was talking about Florida State there? I think he was absolutely talking about Florida State. I don't think there's any doubt. Dibs gives us $10 to say congratulations on 1,000 shows, fellas. Don't pull out now. See, you worked in a don't pull out now.
Hiscock.
You know. Aaron Wilson says hit that like button. Yes, please do. Alan Olive says fly the friendly skies. I agree. Gregory Krug, what's up with you? The Beavers not in the Big 12 is a damn shame. It is.
It is.
It is a damn shame.
It absolutely is.
Because it didn't have to happen.
Yeah.
It didn't have to happen. All right. So we're going to the Foo Fighters concert tonight.
Yeah.
Which I'm totally stoked about. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. You want to see pictures, videos. It's going to be amazing.
Right.
But one of the things we wanted to talk about before we get out of here is, number one, don't forget we're giving away a pair of tickets to see Baylor at Texas. Presented by TryDayTrading.com. All you have to do to win the tickets, we'll announce the winner on Friday at 3:30 Pacific, 6:30 Eastern. All you have to do is go to TryDayTrading.com and sign up for the $10 30-day trial membership. You have no obligations to execute. All you have to do is go sign up and take a screenshot you signed up. The $10 is a charitable donation. And if I said to you, hey, I'll give you a pair of tickets to see Texas at Baylor at McLean for $10, would you do it? You would absolutely do it. You would say, yeah, for sure I'm doing it. So hook it up. TryDayTrading.com. Take a screenshot that shows us you signed up. Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Monty Show. You're entered to win. And right now, you're one of only about 12 people. So it's a small pool. You have a very good chance to win the tickets. So go to Tri-Day Trading. Sign up for their 30-day $10 trial membership to win those tickets.
Do it.
Before we get out of here, let's talk about TVs. Because yesterday while I was floating and having to pee by ending the show.
Right.
What kind of TV do you guys own? Put it in the comments below. I just got a brand new TV. I bought a Fire TV, a 75-inch QLED Fire TV.
Why is it so fire?
Do you guys see what I have to deal with here? So it's an Amazon TV.
Oh, okay.
And it's the best TV I've ever owned. By far, not close.
Mm-hmm.
It's got voice command. It's got everything you want. The problem is I had a 75-inch Samsung TV OLED from 2018. And it was obsolete. Functionally obsolete. The internet speed was not capable of streaming live sports. So when I was watching the Mets kick the shit out of the Cubs, it was on full buffering and delay. By the way, Peter Alonso has another home run against the Cubs. Walk the guy. Anyway, the point is, I bought this TV in 2018 for like $1,500, and it's obsolete right now. So I get on Amazon. I get the Fire TV, 75 inches. It is the best TV I've ever owned.
Mm-hmm.
Lightning fast streaming. And I'm asking myself right now, why didn't I do this sooner? But here's the rub. Last night, my wife wants to watch a show, The Lincoln Lawyer. That's on Netflix.
It's a show now?
Yes, and it's a great show.
Okay.
And we're like, well, we've got the ball games on. We've got to watch Emergency, DeSoto Engage, And now I'm in that phase where I have a little bit of regret cutting the cord.
Why?
Because I flip and hate the way you have to bounce around app to app to find the shows you want to watch.
Yeah.
I got to go to Netflix. I got to go to YouTube TV. I got to go to Amazon Prime Video. I got to go back to YouTube and over to this and your mom's house. And then...
Yeah, it sucks.
There's got to be a way to streamline it. And I hate having to log in, and we need to do Face ID, and we got to put it in, we got to do...
Yeah.
It's annoying as hell. It is annoying as hell. But I'll tell you, the new TV technology, it is lightning fast. The picture is crystal clear, and I love it.
Yeah,
I absolutely love it.
I think that still remains the biggest challenge, is just how to bring it all together. We have AI, we've got all this awesome technology, and we can't get to a place where one remote gives you access to everything in one location, right? Like one app, one remote, really easy to navigate every single thing that you have access to. And unfortunately, I don't know how we're ever going to get there, because everything with, like, YouTube TV is an example, doesn't have an MLB relationship. So the only time MLB games are on YouTube TV is when they're on CBS or TNT or whatever, or Fox, national TV stuff, or ESPN. So you're not going to get, Cubs and Mets right now on YouTube TV. They don't offer a partnership. And what I'd love YouTube TV to do is, hey, if you have YouTube TV, we should be able to integrate the MLB app into YouTube TV so it shows up as an option in the guide. There has to be.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
I'm trying to watch the end of the Cubs game last night.
Yeah.
Forgot that I needed the app, so I had to download the Major League Baseball app.
Yeah.
On DirecTV, I would just go to channel 725, and there's the Cubs game. Facts.
Wish this was you.
You want to watch my beloved Chicago Bulls? Go to channel X. Bulls are on.
Yeah.
NBA TV, channel 216. Like, now all that familiarity, and I know I'm probably sounding like an old stodgy codger guy.
Get off my lawn, man.
Right? Like, I'm sounding like get off my lawn guy. But tell me I'm wrong. It's become a problem. Even with Alexa, right? I can say, hey, Alexa, turn on YouTube TV. And she will turn the TV on, and YouTube TV will pop up. Hey, Alexa, turn on Netflix. Hey, Alexa, like, and it's still a pain in the ass.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the solution to that is.
Yeah, maybe it is a voice command, that technology like Alexa that'll just run through all your apps for you, and you just got to log into each app one time and get that system set up, and then you can do all that. But there's not a great all-in thing right now. And we haven't even talked about the NBA portion of this yet.
But think about it this way. If you are the NBA and you buy into an equity share in ESPN, now all the NBA games are streamed on the ESPN app.
Which would be phenomenal.
And your baseball, and I think baseball is probably the best example of this. Buying ESPN, every Major League Baseball game is streamed through the ESPN app.
Yeah.
Which I have on my TV, so if I want to watch baseball, I go to the ESPN app.
Yep.
If I want to watch NBA, I go to the ESPN app. That's what the future is. Somebody has to do it.
Yes.
And we've heard all about Bob Iger at Disney trying to do that, and I hope he does.
Me too.
I hope he does. And I think it's really interesting that you keep hearing about Bob Iger wanting equity stakes, because I think that's the future, and I know we've talked that to death. But we'll see what that looks like. I don't know.
Yeah.
Too much gravy for my biscuits. Who's the better girl, Alexa or Siri?
I think Alexa.
I think Alexa's hotter.
Yeah, and Alexa's a hotter name than Siri.
Ken Williams, hello, my favorite rancher. Ken says he has a solution. What is it, Ken? Tell me. Probably not to watch TV. Conference Commissioner Gundy, Boomer Monty. Exactly. Too much gravy for the biscuit says ESPN works like that on YouTube TV. Hey, I have YouTube TV. And I don't mind the way the integration of YouTube TV, the way you flip around and stuff. I've gotten used to it now.
Mm-hmm.
But, man, Forced Ghost Fabio. Monty would have never survived the remote control era. I did. I did.
Yeah, he did.
Too much gravy. Who's the better? Oh, I read that one. My bad. Tom Dean, Disney wants you to only watch Disney. Netflix wants you to only watch Netflix. But if ESPN wants to be the predominant sports app, don't you get in bed with all the sports?
Yes.
And don't you get in bed? You're in bed with the NFL. You're in bed with the NBA already in baseball. Do it big. Who's gonna be the big daddy in the NHL? I'm telling you, the Ion Scripps deal with the Las Vegas Golden Knights, groundbreaking.
Yeah.
Groundbreaking. And Greg Hawkins is right. Apple wants you to watch nothing at all. Apple's not. I'm telling you, Greg, that's a great point, because if Apple wanted the Pac-12 deal, that deal would have been done.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't, so they lowballed them. So they didn't. Simple as that. The Monty Show presented by our good friends at The Advocates, theadvocates.com. You got hurt at work today? Did you get in a car accident on the way to or from work? Friends, family, mom, dad, make sure you tell them about The Advocates, where you never pay a penny unless and until The Advocates win your case. Back tomorrow on the show. I am sure we'll have far, far more on this. Hopefully we'll get an answer from J.D. Wicker at San Diego State. I doubt it.
Yeah.
Because why would you answer difficult questions? Until tomorrow, say goodbye, Jake.
Goodbye, Jake.